Am I? Yep, it's this usual thing. Am I live? It is not connected according to this, but according to this, it is. Oh yeah, one. Hello, hello, hello. Whoever you are, we have got one viewer already. Um, Welcome all to my another live stream. It has been quite a while since I did the last live stream. I think it was on the 30th of December when I had quite a bit of time around Christmas, and I had far less work to do on the cars. I put off doing any work on the cars. But now, yeah, I've put my heart on doing another live stream and sticking to it because I was hoping to do one a couple of weeks ago now, but I decided to put it off because there was just so many things going on. Who do we have? Please, we have three people. Please send me a message. Get this conversation rolling. Let me know who you are because I now have quite a few subscribers. Oh, Mr. Ben, how are you, sir? Good evening, sir. I hope you're well too. Oh, how are you, sir? It's been a while. I don't think I've heard of. I don't think I've heard from you for a while. I hope things are okay. Mad Top, a good evening to yourself. Glad I remember this one. Yes, sir. Thank you very much for remembering that. How are you, sir? How are things on your side? I do apologise because it's been so long since I did any live streams. And the fact is, I do know some of you, and I know quite a few of you just by looking at your channel names, but I might have forgotten what cars you've got. Pretty bad. Pretty bad. Uh, Enchantress. Mark. Well, whoever you are, hello. How are you, sir? Mark? Oh, sorry. Hello, Mark. How are you, sir? You're new to the channel since my last live stream, so thank you for joining us. I hope that you're not going to doze off halfway through. That tends to happen a lot. I'm not someone who can spontaneously come up with just a complete conversation. I need a conversation to draw me in as well. Mr. Ben, I'm okay, thanks, Andrew. Been meaning to get in touch. We'll drop you a message soon. No problem, sir. No problem. Any help? Any help? Anyway, just a chat and have a knit and natter. That's fine by me. I have been quite distant in the last month or so. I've been getting a lot of message from a lot of people, and when you get swarmed in from messages, when you actually sit down at 8-9 o'clock in the evening after a long day, where you haven't stopped, and then you get you've got Facebook messages, you've got emails, you've got YouTube messages, and it's like I'm going through the whole lot. So sometimes it appears that I'm in a rush, and I am. But that's, I've got plenty of time for people to help people out or just have a knit and natter whenever. You need that balance, you really do. Adam, hello, sir. Someone who has been putting a lot of messages on a lot of videos. Thank you very much. And you've been keeping me busy with all your messages. I hope you're doing good, Adam. I can't remember. Did you message me about an issue? Oh, it was somebody else. You see, this is the problem. I've had so many people messaging me about so many different issues. It's like I've lost track now. And I've lost track on what cars people have got. Enchantress, fine. No worries. Enjoying your videos. Having a steak diesel. Oh, no, is that a TDDI or TDCI? Which one is it? Because they're very different beasts. I bet you do a lot of miles in that. They're damn good workhorses, and they're very rare. I will tell you that. They are pretty much what Mark ones are actually left on the roads. There's probably about 5. They represent 5%. The petrols being the 95% of the rest of them, but diesels are very rare. Mr. Ben, any joy with the garage for your Focus? Well, it's actually interesting you say that. I actually have, I have got a garage potentially. It's going to be a bit tight. The Focus has its MOT that runs out on March the 7th. And the tax runs out at the end of this month. And I was hoping to get the garage by the end of this month and have it put away just for a couple of months, just off the road. I let the MOT go because looking forwards, I want the Focus to have an April MOT and to start the tax in April for 6 months. Basically because the Focus is going to be a car that I will not use between October and March. It's as simple as that. I've got the Rover, which hopefully will be in a position to actually start earning its keep not too soon. Things are going quite well at the moment and I'm getting a lot of bits done. This week has been quite intense. I've made quite a few videos. It's been a lot of work. I've got like 7 videos I've yet to edit. So once this live stream is done, I'm going to be working away tonight. It's going to be one of those coffee nights, I think. Most people my age will go out, have a drink, get pissed. Not me, not me tonight. Maybe next week. So in terms of the garage, I have got something, but typically I'm struggling to get one. And living in Birmingham, it's difficult to get storage at an affordable rate. The going rate for garages, a standard garage, it's like £100. That's a lot. That is a lot. Rent has gone up a lot, and I know people are looking to maximise income, etc. But that is a lot. The landlady that I know with the garage that I'm looking at, this was a garage I used for the P6. So I might have shown you a couple of pictures of the P6 and the Focus amongst a load of garages. That's where hopefully the Focus will be going. She says there's a garage available around late start of March. So I really don't want to be MOTing the car again until at least April, May. And secondly, I do not want to be taxing the car for one journey. So I'm going to speak to her and see if I could just chuck the car on her land until the garage is free. Because someone's leaving around that time. So I'm hoping that things will work out there, and then the Rover won't be ready, but I'll be in a position. I don't really need a car to commute. That's all I need for March. I'm not really going anywhere in March, so I just need well, I can manage by walking. I don't work far away from where I live, so March might be a case of I lose the Focus deliberately for a month, but the Rover's not ready. It's a bit like that, so I'm kind of, we'll just see how it flows. Enchantress 100. Okay, 100 bhp TDCi, so that's the lower power. I think it was 115 was the top one. I'm not quite sure what models you got that on actually. Only 84,000 in machine silver. Wow. Okay, you've got a peach. Please hold on to it and look after it. Make sure the bodywork is good. You know, look after the sills, check the arches, give it a good wax oil. You need to look after that car, because getting I've said this before when I did a few videos on the looking at adverts for Mark 1s. If you have a diesel, whatever TDDI, TDCi, if you have a diesel Mark 1 that has not done 100,000 miles, that's 2.5 grand straight away. If it's in good condition and it's got no rot, 2 grand, 2.5 grand. That's the going rate for me, because that's just, you've got a car with so many miles left in it. It's untrue. And as long as the body's holding up right and it's protected from the elements, particularly in the winter, those units will just keep going on and on and on. You know, replace the odd sensor here and there, you'll be fine. Nothing to go wrong in them. Adam, great, thanks. Didn't realise how much YouTube comments were keeping you busy. Wasn't me that messaged you with the issue. Oh, fair enough then. There you go, Adam. See, I've lost the plot straight away. But honestly, I've seen that you've put a few comments up. As I say, I noticed the same people that are quite regular on the YouTube channel, and that's what I want. It's a forum within itself, and I hope for it to be a really good forum, somewhere where people can like put their problems and I can try and sort it out as best as I possibly can. There's a few Focus Mark 1 videos that are coming up. There's one that I've just finished. I've got to decide when to put that out because I want to space things out a bit, particularly when it comes to the Mark 1 advice videos where I look at a specific system on the Focus or a specific area, and then I go through, I call it a lecture because quite frankly, when I actually film myself, it feels quite boring. But then once I've edited the thing, it actually looks really good, and people love them. And ridiculously, I looked at this up the other day. My most viewed episode is not the Mark 1 Buyer's Guide. That it's got over 3,000 views. That video, I'll put it up on the 1st of October. Not that one. It's Focus Mark 1 Common Electrical Problems. It has over 3,300 views. More people have liked that video than anything. It was a good video, and it seemed quite boring when I was making it, but maybe that's just because I was just referring automatically to my experiences, and it just came out the right way. Well, I can't argue with that because 100% of people liked it. Not one dislike. I've had a couple of dislikes actually. There was one video I did on the keys and immobilizer system on a Mark 1. There was a few people that disliked that. So clearly they think I've got something wrong, but most people thought it's a good video. I'm quite conscious of that, but you know, I'd like to think that if there's anything that is wrong, then please put it in the comments, because I might learn something. You know, I'm not a master genius. At the end of the day, I only know what I know from my own experiences. Just asking Stoke, hi buddy, how are you? New to the channel. Have you recently subscribed, sir? I hope you're keeping okay. I'm assuming, do you have a Mark 1 Focus or a Rover 45 or a Rover? I'm just asking because my channel comes into two camps at the moment, Ford or Rover. I like to keep it that way as well because I've little interest in other marquees. Well, no, I've little interest in owning another marquee. I think the two brands really are close to my heart, and really honestly, that's the way I feel that things need to go. I own the cars that I want to own, and I don't do things for views. It's as simple as that. Madtap, since our last live stream, I've noticed a load of Mark 1s by me. Where do you live, Madtap? Because I think this is quite a geographical issue with Mark 1s, because apparently, according to someone who I speak to quite regularly, up north, up Liverpool way, there's loads of them. There's absolutely loads of them. In fact, he said that there's tons of early ones. Like he's seen about 3 or 4 S-Regs. It's an unbelievable amount of Focuses up there. And I thought S-Regs were rare. No, there's a few up there. Honestly, they're all over the place. In Birmingham, you will not get that. I have not physically seen a Mark 1 on the roads in the last couple of months since Christmas. I literally haven't. In Birmingham, I'm afraid it's a bit like keeping up with the Joneses. You've got to have the latest car. It's got to be a German car, or if that, there's a lot more Japanese Kias, Toyotas. There's a load more from the Far East. I think they're cracking cars for what they are, and you're seeing a lot of them, but brand new ones. You will not see as many older cars in Birmingham. It's more down Longbridge side because it's the Rover thing again, MG Rover thing. There's a lot of people who've got a lot of older cars down there. Stevo, Holy Focus Bible in the background. Oh, it's got to be Holy Stevo. Again, welcome to the channel, sir. I hope you're keeping well. I assume you have a Focus Mark 1 yourself. Mr. Ben, I remember the P6 garage pics. Looks good. I pay about £50 per month for my garage, my Focus. I think that's good value. Stick to it. Wherever you live, £50. Birmingham, 60 minimum. 60 is the floor in Birmingham. I don't know what it's like in London. I think London must be worse, but definitely 60 is the floor. 80 is what I may be paying, probably will be, because the landlady I know, and she knows I don't muck her around, and I've had an old car before, so she knows that I'm reliable. £100 seems to be the roof in Birmingham. Preferably, me and my best mate want to do a double garage. We're thinking of doing a double garage, but I cannot find double garages unless they're miles away. They're not even near Birmingham. There was one up Coventry, which is the closest. Beautiful double garage at the back of someone's house. You've got good access. 120, 100 and no, it was 150. So it's 75 each way. Brilliant, fantastic. Too far away. Yeah, it's always that. Enchantress, it's a Ghia. Oh, that's nice as well. So a Ghia TDCi with 84,000 miles. So you've got a lot of toys in that. So you've got all-round electric windows, global closing, that sort of thing. Very nice. Do you have the actual wood trim, the walnut wood trim, or the grey wood trim? There's two different ones. I like the grey wood trim in a Focus. I think the brown is it only goes well if you've got the beige dashboard and the beige seats and carpets. The old man spec, as I call it. There's a few around, and I think they're quite nice. Just asking, top spec, no, nice. I have seen some nice TDDI Mark 1 gears, TD Mark 1 gears cheap. Ooh, is that, where have you seen them? On eBay? There's a few. I tell you what, there's so many really nice ones coming up on the market. I wonder where they're all coming from. But I definitely think now, I don't think this is me. This is nothing to do with my awareness. I'm just one little cog in a piece of the community. But I do think the general sense in the community is they're going like that. I take my Mark 1 to a garage for its MOT, and I get comments saying, these are going up, keep it, do not sell it. I'm like, oh no, I'm not selling it. You only have to go to a place now where people know about cars and they'll say these are going up. And I think the general consensus now is where most Mark 1s in good condition with an MOT will above £1,000. The ones below £1,000, they must have a lot of problems, because that's pretty much what they're worth now, at least £1,000. I've had a few people ask me what they're worth, and if it's got no rot, it's good external condition, no massive dents, just a few scrapes, and maybe a tiny bit of lacquer peel, that's normal, some rough edges, but ultimately a solid car that you can make a lot better. You're looking from anything from 1,200 to 1,500, and then either way, it's either worse examples, probably some that will be scrapped, and then the best ones, low mileage, full service history, very little problems, no rot. Surface, well, as I say, no. When I say no rot, no holes. Surface corrosion, yes, but no rot. Madtop Mark 1 electric problems. We all have them, so it would be good. Yeah, it's honestly, I don't know why that is the most viewed episode, but clearly it might be because there were just so many problems. They were the main electrical problems. I mean, I've been having messages about all sorts of weird issues on Mark 1 since that video went out, and that video really is a summary of the most common, and that's what it is. It's the common electrical problems. Maybe I will probably do a video on rare electrical problems, because they're so rare that maybe one or two people have had these issues. Someone was, I had a message the other day, an email the other day, saying that his passenger window works perfectly fine, goes up and down with the passenger switch, right? But the driver's switch, the passenger window will go down with the driver's switch, but it won't come back up. with the driver switch, and he said he's changed the switch for another genuine second-hand one. It doesn't work. So the fact that the window works suggests that there's no problem with the regulator, or the switch on that side, or the wiring. So I said, as I say, that's why I said change the switch. There's the same problem. Now, unless we've got two dodgy genuine switches, and they can go wrong. I've had to replace my driver's one with another one because they do go wrong. But the chances of two genuine ones going wrong, that could be quite rare. I mean, my next step might be to just buy a brand new one, but that's a weird issue, and I'm scratching my head as to what solution that might occur. You know what I mean? Paul, hi Andrew. I also wanted to say thanks very much for giving excellent thorough replies in your country. Thank you, Paul. I do try my best with making my comments as clear as possible. As I say, I've got all these streams of I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on the Facebook groups. I've got another email account linked to my YouTube channel. I've got the channel, and I've got messages all over the place. So I try and get around and make sure that I'm not rushing. If I feel like this is just too much and I've got too much to actually reply to, I just take a step away. I don't even reply. I'll come back in another day with a good reply, because sometimes when you rush, you're just not giving people very good answers, and I find that just taking a space away, if it's a bit too much, it can be. If you've ever been in a position where you've had so many social outlets, particularly as a YouTube channel, it's hard, not easy. And as the channel grows, this will go up. At the moment, I am at a very good position where I can still reply to everyone's comments. I know a lot of YouTubers, when they grow, they just can't reply to everyone, but I would try to. Black Lions, your channel is excellent. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. I'm assuming, do you have a Mark 1 or a Rover? As I say, I'm trying to link names with cars. I should have a list. I should actually write all your names down and just see. I'll just link you to cars, so that at least I have the list. Oh, it's Paul Davis. What does he have? Oh yeah, he has this, and he said he's got this problem and this problem. So at least I've got it in my head. Everyone's cars, and maybe why I've messaged them or they've messaged me. Just something to go on. Just asking Stokes, sill covers are a big killer. Think I'm going to take mine off. Oh, sorry, I don't know why it's jumped. That's not right. Sorry. Just asking Stoke, been here many times, got that yellow Focus, my name's right. Luke, hello sir. You've got a Millennium Focus. Yes, I know you have the Facebook group, and I'm sure I've messaged you. I'm pretty sure that's a nice car. That's a really nice car. You're saying, I've just read your comment further down about the sill cover. Sorry, it keeps up. The list keeps on moving. Yeah, please tell this, the sill covers on the early ones, please take them off and just have a good clean around and just see what's under there. I hope it won't be bad, but it's something that I would probably do once every so often. But I won't worry too much. You'd probably see some corrosion on sort of around the edges of where the cover goes. If you see bubbling, then obviously there could be some dirt trapped and it's just built up. Black Lines, I have a 1.0 Zetec Focus. Okay, so you've got a Focus 1.8 Zetec back around. You had see what I mean? I'm not reading it for you. Back around 2000, so you bought yours brand new, I gather. That would have been a lovely car to own brand new. I'm definitely looking for 1.8 2-litre Focus, mainly a 1.8, I think. But we'll see what comes around. I would definitely want to take one on. The problem is, as I've said a few times, I'm really not in the mood for buying another Mark 1 and rebuilding it and doing exactly the same what I did with my own. It's as simple as that. I'd buy one in really good condition that needs a few bits and pieces that maybe I can make some videos, put some content out there that otherwise my Mark 1 out there doesn't need. and drive it around for a bit, enjoy it, and then move it on. It wouldn't be a keeper. That's the keeper. That's my first car. I'd only buy one for that. But a 1.8, beautiful, really good cars. Only problem you need to be aware of, gearboxes in them. The IB5 is really at the end of its tether when it comes to the 1.8. I do not know why they didn't fit the MTX 75. It's a much more old school, robust gearbox. They fitted them on the 2 litres. Why the 1.8s, I have no idea. Mr. Ben 747. I've been all over the place in my last month and seen less than a dozen Mark 1 Focuses. Massive drop of numbers, sadly. Yeah, it does seem geographical though, but I've not seen one since Christmas. I can't recall seeing one. No, not at all. It's a shame. It's a real shame. But again, I think it's just the fact that what I said last year, I've been saying it on the forums for a few years. There come a point where you've got really good examples, and then you've got really ropey ones, and there's not much in between. Now what we're seeing is all the ropey ones have disappeared, or are very quickly disappearing, and the rest of them will go. And what we're left with are much better cars, and much more workable cars where people can actually basically have a go, even if you're not that experienced with working on your own cars and confident. There are some really good Mark 1s out there that are really, really good. I'd tell you something though. I saw a post early this evening on the Mark 1 owners page, and basically I can't remember the name of the person who put a post up, but it came out this evening. I put a reply to this post. Someone bought a Mark 1 Focus, a 54 plate, from a garage, and the garage put a new MOT on it in November, and the guy paid a fair price for it. And today he put a post up saying he took it to the garage because he had wheel alignment issues. It felt like the car felt like a boat. That's really bad for a start. If you've got a Mark 1 that feels like a boat, you need to check underneath at the rear end. And the reason being is basically one of the rear arms had rotten so bad that it was hanging off the subframe. It was literally hanging off the subframe and hanging off the hub. Literally, the only bit attached to the hub, it was like a little piece of metal. And well, I say he needs to go and take full action against that garage, because they have basically got a dodgy MOT. It looks rough in places, but it doesn't look that bad apart from the arms. Oh my god, it looks so rough. It's just, oh, I can't believe that sort of stuff goes on. I know we all know dodgy MOTs go on. I've put mine for a dodgy MOT to get it through the emissions. But as far as everything else is concerned, my MOT tester would go, fail. I'm not passing. It's down on them. That MOT tester was starting to say it's roadworthy. I hope this guy takes them to VOSA. I hope he gets his money back, because the garage that sold him the car, it was really bad. I must do a video about checking the rear arms, because if you've got the originals, they will be corroded quite badly by now. Mine were 4 years ago, if they haven't been changed. I know people put them off because the bolt seize. It's a nasty job, and then you end up wanting to take the whole subframe off, because it's actually not that hard, but it's intimidating to someone who would want to drop the whole thing. Man, that's bad. I just hope that he gets in touch with VOSA. Well, get a refund, get his money back, get rid of that car, because at the end of the day, just get his money back, because it's just too much of a legal problem. VOSA, I hope he contacts VOSA, because they will basically strip that MOT test of his license. Seeing that on social media, and that garage, consequences because of that. Matt up, there is a red Mark 1 round the corner from me that the owners had for 9 years. It has stickers from holiday sites on the dash. I love that when people put stickers of everywhere they've been, the memories. That is so cool. I love it. You see more of that with classic cars, because they've got to that age where they're only used for going to shows, rallies, and you get all the stickers and the plates. So to see one with all those stickers on them, where someone's been just on holiday, I quite like that. So clearly that person's attached to that car then. That's a keeper. And I'll just call you N. I'm not going to go, as I say, my pronunciation isn't very good. Good evening, how are you, sir? I hope you're keeping well. Mad Top, and I live about half an hour from you. Oh, okay, you're not far away then. Okay. How about Birmingham? Mr. Ben 747. There used to be 5 Mark 1 Focuses on my road alone. Now just mine. One house nearby used to have 2 of them. Yeah, that seems to be a sign of the times. I work with a lot of people, and probably about 150 cars in the car park. And when I started driving the Focus in 2013, there was about 6 or 7 of them, at least. And mind you, that was when we had less people. So I think it was about 100 people worked at my place, and we had about 7 Focuses. There was quite a few. No Rovers though. No Rovers. My 45 is probably the first Rover in many years to go to work, or will be soon. So yeah, it's quite interesting. Now, well, obviously now there's no Focus. There hasn't been any Mark 1s for ages. The last Mark 1 that one of my colleagues had was a Mark 1 black, and it had lacquer peel all over the place. It was nasty. It was a nasty example. And I discovered I did a reg check on that car. I was on my lunch break, and the car was not just a few paces down. So I did a reg check just out of curiosity, just to look at the MOT history, because I did go up to this person and say, look, if you want to get rid of the car, I'll buy it off you, because I could do with some spares, because you had the leather seats, I had a lot of things that were applicable to my car. I wasn't as keen because I couldn't use any of the body panels. The boot was rusted, the wings were rusted, the doors had a dent in it. I couldn't use anything. But I did an MOT test check. He said the MOT had expired about 6 months earlier. I didn't say anything, but yeah. Actually, not even mine, as it lives elsewhere in the garage. Got you. Stoke Gumtree. Got you. I see. Ooh, I'll have to have a look at that then, if it's up Stoke way. Mad Top, I thought global windows are something you can activate if you want to do it. You need to have all electric windows to be able to do it, and I believe most models will have global closing. If you have a gear with all electric windows, it will have global closing. I don't believe it needs to be activated, unless I'm wrong about that, but I don't think so. Adam, here in Doncaster, Mark 1 Focuses are still around. Usually see around 3 a day, but they have definitely dropped in number and are still dropping. Well, that's more than me, and it's a shame I don't see more. It is something that when I see one, it really gets my attention. The last time I passed one, I literally I'm driving there and I was like, oh yeah, okay, I was on the road. I've got really distracted by that. It was just a normal one, but it's just something very rare around by me. There is a Mark 1 Focus, strangely, round the corner from my house, and I think the owner is on the Mark 1 groups, but I've not actually passed the house at the point where he's outside. Otherwise, I'd stop and just say what a lovely Focus it is. It has collection bumpers on it, so it's been modified. It's a 1.8 Focus, 54 plate, with a front collection bumper. It's been lowered, it's been modified. It's not my cup of tea, but I haven't passed the house at the time where the owner is out. I'm pretty sure I know who the owner is, but yeah, he's on the Facebook groups, but I'm amazed he hasn't actually passed my house, because I'm sure he may have seen one of my videos, or may not. If he's into modifying Focuses, he may have passed my channel. He may just see it as a boring channel. There's 2 sides of Mark 1 owners. There's ones that the people that modify them to death, and the ones that actually want to just keep them original. And I wasn't in that camp, but I modified mine. But now I'm firmly in one camp, and I suspect that I haven't attracted many people on that side of the camp. That's fine, each to their own. But still, a lot of the advice I give is applicable to every. Sometimes I think you can modify a Mark 1 so much it loses the meaning of what a Mark 1 is. Yeah, sill covers are a big killer. Think I'm going to... Yeah. Well, they're not. They're not really, but just take them off and give it a wash every so often. Blackman's, yes, I have a Celica with great bodywork, a Toyota Celica. Oh, okay, very reliable things. I quite like them. I really do quite like them. I think they're really quirky. Is that the one with the twin headlamps at the front? I don't know much about Celicas, but I do know they look very distinctive. Under the plastic sill covers, it rots like crazy. Welded up now, though. Oh, I didn't know Toyotas were that bad for rotting. I mean, God. It I know someone with a MR2. Yeah, an MR2 Mark 1. They are fun as hell. Mid-engine things. I'd like to own one actually, if I could get my hands on one, but the prices have gone like that. Mark 2s tend to be a bit better, but I think Mark 2s have got this issue where there's something you have to get access to inside, deep in the engine. I can't remember what it is now, and it's something people put off. I can't remember. It's something that goes wrong. Maybe it's the thermostat housing or something that goes on those engines that are deep in the bowels of the engine. You have to literally take it all apart to get access. I can't remember what it is now. Madtop, normally don't you change both the window switches as one tends to take out the other? No, I don't believe that. I've never believed that. No. I wouldn't normally think so, but in this, there's a weird issue that he's experiencing, and I'm not sure where to go because the wiring would be fine. I mean, the GEM module, the body control module, really doesn't go wrong. Bit of a weird one that, but I haven't emailed him actually. Oh, he might be watching this. I can't remember what his name is now. But I would go and buy a new one. I'd just buy a new one, even if an aftermarket one, and then see if that works. Oh, sorry, I missed your message. And Chartres, my rear windows are buggered, but we'll get them fixed. One makes a noise and the other does nothing. Make sure it is the regulator. I mean, I'm not... If you're operating the switch on the driver's switch, because that's the master control, if you cannot hear a clicking if you can hear a clicking from the motor and nothing's working, then the regulator needs to be changed. That you can get them quite simply, the rear regulators, they do pack up. If you can't hear a clicking, I would suggest it's the switch that's at fault. I've never heard of wiring brakes where they go through the doors. I know some cars are quite common for the wiring where it bends through the grommet into the doors to brake, but Mark 1s are not known for that. So just check that out before. So one makes a noise. Is that the clicking, or does it sound like rust, like it's got liquid rust in the door? That's the cable that's snapped. That's what they sound like when they go. Mr. Ben, I had to change my driver's window switch as the contacts for the driver's window burnt out. I assume just through use. A new switch sorted it. Mine might have gone the same way. I got to the point last year where passenger side one was fine, but the driver's one, the one touch switch, you have to really jab it in to make it go up. I knew it was going. I've got a second-hand one, genuine. It sorted it. They just go, and I would say there's no point in trying to take the switch apart to clean the internals. Once they go, they go. I've never repaired a window switch by taking them apart and putting contact cleaner in and cleaning them. Once they burn out, they burn out. Excuse me, that's my dehumidifier that I've just switched on. I use it in the house as well as the cars. They're really good things. That's a 10-litre one, and it takes a gallon of water. And the reason it stopped is because it's full of water. Lovely. Sorry, just going through these. I have to change. Right, just asking Stoke. Yes, you have. Will do. Steve-O, yes, saw that rotten subframe. And Chartreuse saw that post. That was terrible. It was pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I winced. It looks disgusting. When Mark 1's rot in those areas, it looks horrible. I think that's the worst kind of visual on a car. Just rot. It's horrible. Horrible. Mr. Brent, I had to have the rear arms done on mine. Expensive job. It's not cheap. I think this guy's been charged by the garage that have done the inspection. The one he went to for the wheel alignment, they've said 300. That I think is for just the bottom arms. That's expensive, that is. I think they've quoted that price because they probably have done this before and the bolt sees, and it's a long job. You can use a blowtorch. There's some garages a bit, I can't use a blowtorch because of fuel tank. Honestly, I've never known. I think the ones on the inners, the camber, the bolts used to adjust the camber, I think yes, because the fuel tank is right there. But by the wheel, the one that connects to the hub, the bottom of the hub, you're not that close to the tank. You can get a torch on that. Mad Top, had my rear arms done last year. Thanks to a rear spring broke and the bolt on the arms gone. Also, the arms ended up on the top of my belt. Oh gosh, that sounds nasty. I think I had mine done. Springs and arms. This was a few years ago. I'm glad the guys did it for me because it wouldn't have been a very nice job. As I say, I've not actually physically done that job. I have actually taken the springs and arms off previously because I did the whole subframe thing a couple of years ago, but the guys did the hard work for me and getting the old ones off. Strange enough, if you are doing the suspension arms yourself and you've got the new bolts or the bolts that come with the arms in a kit, what I do is I put copperies on the shaft that goes through the bush and Loctite on the thread that goes through the welded stud on the subframe. If you've got the welded stud, if you've had to have them cut off the subframe, and then you'll have a bolt and washer kit, a bolt and nut kit. I would suggest you put Loctite on the threads so it either doesn't seize to the welded stud if you've got the welded stud on the subframes, on the hub still, or on the nut that's supposed to go on it. So you've got copperies so it doesn't weld itself to the bearing, and Loctite where it needs to be because you don't want it coming loose. It sounds stupid, but it works. Just ask it. I see up to 4 or 5 a day. You lucky sod. In Stoke. Wow, that's a lot. That is a lot. As I say, Birmingham is keeping up with the Joneses. Can't have Mark 1s. They're just so unfashionable. I've had a few people come up to me and say, you're working on this car all the time. Why don't you just get a new car? They don't get it, do they? They just don't get it. If any of you have watched Car Throttle in the early days where they used to do, they used to do a series on Car Throttle, and it was like the sort of stupid questions that non-car people ask car people. It's that, oh, you spend too much time working on this car. Why don't you just take it to a garage? Why would I take it to a garage when I can do it myself, man? Oh, God. Jesus. And then the usual, why don't you just get a new car? No. So frustrating. Smack the Cat, you've made it. Hi, sir. I'm okay. I'm all good. I'm just knackered. It's been a long week at work. But I've now had the time to actually get some motivation to do a live stream. And there are 22 people. There are 22 people on here. No, there's 8 people on there, but 22 people have been on here currently. So basically 14 people have died already. Fantastic. I've really achieved something today. Yeah, it's just a question of getting time and motivation. As I say, I never said I was going to do live streams too regularly. I said bi-monthly, but I think that might be too much. I think monthly might be more so. It depends on the time limit, and depends how much work I've got on the cars. At the moment, I've got a stack full of work, just adding up. So I have to prioritise that and prioritise making the videos on me working on the cars. I'd normally like some of the times where I've wanted to do a live stream recently, I haven't had the time because I'm editing. I'm doing so many things at once, and editing takes a long time. So tonight, I've got this time to do this. I've got a few videos to edit, but not as many. The backlog is clearing. I agree, Andrew. And Adam, I agree, Andrew. I prefer keeping Mark 1 standard and appreciate it. Perfect. There you go. I think you're in the right channel then, Adam. I think that's how it is going to be. I've just attracted people of the same mindset of myself that I don't mind. You know what? Mark 1s that exist today, I really don't mind modified Mark 1s, but I've been to Ford Fair, and you can imagine what you can see at Ford Fair. It is literally like looking at a load of cars that were Mark 1s. They're not Mark 1s no more. They really are not. They're just some generic modified car that has got Ford Focus written on the V5. Each to their own. Black Lines, no, my Celica is the 7th gen, the final style. Oh God, I'm gonna have to look that up. 7th gen Celica. I need to see this. Okay. Right, so we're looking at 99 to 2006. Okay. I'm not as familiar with them, but I like the coupe look. Has yours got a spoiler on the back by any chance? Very nice indeed. Adam, I think the Mark II MR2 is the one people modified to make it look like a fake Ferrari. I'm sure I've seen memes about it. Yes, you are entirely right. I've seen so many people dress them up. They put the fake spoilers on and everything. I like them. I really do like them. Mark 1s have gone through the roof. They're square, they're boxy, they look fun. They look really fun. Mark 2s are more obtainable, but yeah, there is a bit of a scene for them. I don't know if it's my kind of scene, but I wouldn't mind one. Mr. Ben, outside of Ford and Rover. Mr. Ben, I paid £506 for rear arms and rear drop rings. I think when I had mine done, because they were so bad, I think I had the same, because I had the arms done with new bolts, genuine bolts. I had the drop links done at the same time, and I had obviously complete alignment, and I had the MOT done in it because it was an MOT fail, which is why I had to do it. This is 2019. 506. I think that was roughly what I paid, around 500. I'm sure it was. It was horrible. Absolutely horrible. And that was when I had the P6, and I really doubted that I could have 2 cars. That's when I knew that the P6 had to go, because that was for me the first stage in me realizing my precious Mark 1, my ever dependable car, is not going to be so dependable if I cannot, 1, make the time to do the work, or pay to have the work done. I'm spending the money on the Rover, but the car that's working for me won't continue to work. And I think that's the point where my mind shifted. And that was the start of the end of my relationship with the P6. I had to move it on in order to get the Focus back to square one. I didn't just do that. I've actually completely rebuilt it. So, yeah. Smoke the Cat. My driver's side window regulator is stuck, I think. If I press the switch, the interior lights dim. Yeah, that's a sign that power's getting through to the regulator. It's always the driver's regulator. Very rarely have I heard of a passenger side front regulator packing up. It's always the driver's side, and I don't know why. I don't know why. My driver's one packed up 7 years ago. My passenger one is still working. I mean, obviously the aftermarket driver's one that I've got, it still works and it's very fast. The original is very slow. It's a bit of a race. If both the windows are down and if I press both switches to make them both go up, the driver's one is up. The passenger one is barely halfway. Mad Top, I had to change both the rear window regulators to one cable going and the other, the plastic part that the window sits on, snapped. And the both windows dropped. I know that you got the plastic hooks. I had an issue with one of the aftermarket one I bought. The actual plastic bit was actually snapped in transit, so I had to send it back and get another one. They very rarely go on the originals, but that's interesting. When this happened, luckily the glass did not break, but you can just buy the repair kit for the regulator. The plastic part goes and comes with the cables. Yeah, you can get that plastic part also. It is part of the kit. And you just have to do a bit of searching for it, but it does come up. It's not too hard to bolt on. The glass was lucky to not break, I have to say. Yeah, taking the glass out when you're changing the regulator, you realistically need it's a two-person job. Doing it by yourself is a bit of a pain. Actually, I use a trick. If you're in this situation where your window regulator has just broken, the cable snapped, the window's dropped, get the door cut off. Obviously, you need security because you can't have the window dropped and leave it out there with the elements and people probably steal it. To get the window back up, just take the door cut off, push it back up by hand, get an assistant to help you. Once you got it up, have somebody just hold it at the bottom, get some cardboard and wedge it in the window. So literally just wedge it. So basically where you've got the window goes along to where it goes to the B pillar, just wedge it in the side. Just wedge it in the side only and it will stay up. Lots of cardboard, absolutely wedge it in and it'll be fine. That's the old trick to sort it out. You can do it from the outside, do it from the inside. Probably do it from the inside, best for security, because if someone pulls it, the window will drop. Tadaska, hello sir, how are you? Do you think Mark 1 Estates will be Classic 2 or just the 3-door? Oh, they're all going to be classics. And the Mark 1 Estates will be in a niche of their own. They are really nice load luggers. They're not for everyone's taste. And I definitely think the 3-doors are going to be desirable. I think the 5-doors, they're more common. And I think people realise the 3-doors, nice ones, are very desirable too. I like the coupe sort of look with the bigger doors. I really do. But the estates are going to have a niche all of their own. The saloons are going to have a niche all of their own. So they're all going to be classics. All of them they're all modern classics now. Modern classics are what you interpret them to be, and it is a modern classic now. The youngest examples of these registered on 05 plates. I know there's 06 registered Focuses, but they're all late 2004 cars really. So on that basis, they're all 18 years old. That's old. That's really old for a car. And when a car gets to 20 years of age, it kind of obtains that value of being a modern classic if it's a desirable one, and the Focus Model 1 is. It's a stack. It's just particularly in the UK and in Europe, it was a staple in many countries. They were everywhere. Port area, lots of old cars, 02 Reg, lots of 05, 07s. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I should know that because I've got a couple of friends who live in Stoke. It's an area that's been let down, put it that way. That's the nicest way of saying it, and I feel for the people that live in the area that have always lived in the area. There are so many areas like that across the country that have just been underfunded. Everything's been let to go down a little bit, and you will see older cars because it's just all people can afford. But Mark 1 Focuses are probably the best at that age. Mad Top, finally put my foot back together. Well, I'll tell you something actually, sorry, cut myself off. Ford Fiesta of the same age. So you're talking Mark 4, Mark 5s. How many of them do you see on the roads? And it's a smaller and cheaper car, cheaper to insure. Don't see many of them. I see more Mark 1 Focuses from them. Again, another car that's disappeared. Mark 4s, you don't see them now. You really don't see them around. Mad Top, finally put my boot back together today from my boot leak. That is as far as I am concerned. Oh, it's just jumped down. I'm so sorry. I've lost the thread again. It is fixed. Don't say that a boot leak is fixed. Trust me, I've given up. I've gained a tiny weep from somewhere. I suspect it's because of that seam at the back of the arch that I lined up when I went to Halfords. That seam. I haven't had the issue since, but it hasn't been raining. This is my solution here to a boot leak. Just get a garage, and then don't drive it in the rain. Don't leave it out in the rain. That's your boot leak fixed. Just asking, people round here buy anything cheap, run till it gets pricey, then they die. That's Bangonomics for you. Nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of people in the poor areas of Birmingham who do that. It's just what you can do at the end of the day. Just get it up and get it as cheap as possible. And a couple of dodgy MOTs, not too dodgy, because that's, you know, the post I saw earlier was an example of that. And that was a dodgy MOT in order for a garage to sell a car. This is what I don't like about car dealers. When car dealers say, oh, the car will come with a fresh 12 months MOT. How do you know that? They're going to put a 12-month, they're going to get a garage that they know to put a 12-month MOT on it. How do they know it's going to pass? Because they've paid the bugger to pass it regardless. That's why I think that MOTs, when it comes from, when dealers say that, I just think MOTs are not worth the paper they're written on, because MOTs are merely a tool in order to sell a car. Steve-O, I'm off, speak later. Thank you very much for joining us, Steve-O. Really, honestly, take care, sir. How long has this been going for? 58 minutes. Yeah, that's fine. I'll probably do another hour and then I'll cut it off, because I was only intending to do for probably an hour or two, as usual. But the conversation rolls, so that's all good. Yeah, drivers most use window. Yeah, it always is. But, and I'm not being funny, and I actually have got something that will go against that. I am someone who just loves, I don't know if you get complaints off passengers for this, because I certainly do. I've got no aircon in my Focus, right? But regardless of how hot or cold it is, I love the windows being open. It's a free door. You've got those big windows. I like fresh air in a car. I know you've got a recirculation button. I barely use it because I just open the windows and let the fresh air in. I know it's pollution, city air and all that, but I really do like the fresh air. You do get quite a bit coming through the windows. And I really say this heartedly. Since I've owned my Focus Mark 1 since 2013, almost 10 years now, it'll be 10 years in July, I have used the passenger window and the driver's window equally, because I just get in, lower the driver's window a bit, lower the passenger window a bit, and I get some fresh air coming in as I'm driving. But I put the heater on because it's freezing cold at this time of the year. I have the windows open, but the heater on. In fact, I took a really nice drive, a drive around, and it was a lovely Easter evening. So you had the orange sky. It was beautiful. Took it on a lovely drive. I had the windows fully down, both of them, so I can hear the engine roaring ahead of me. I put my foot down along the lovely country roads. You have to be very careful with the country lanes near me, but it's beautiful, some beautiful sights. And I had to have the heater on full blast. So I had the heater on full blast on full, but I had the windows open. Please tell me that I'm mad, but I've done that a couple of times. But mostly I will drive with the windows cracked about that far down and the heater on because I just want cold, I just want fresh air, but I don't want to be freezing. So I argue that I've used my passenger window probably just as much as the driver's side, but the driver's side always fails. My passenger one is still working to this day. So there is something not quite right with the driver's windows on Mark Ones. Whether it's the motors that pack up, most likely it is, or the cables are not very good. I don't know why. They just do. Obviously, on other cars, it would be a case of the driver's window is the most used. But I just think my example that I've just given there is a good example of why that's not always necessarily the case. Mr. Ben, my driver's window got stuck when I got the car. Take the motor with a hammer. Tap the motor with a hammer as I operated the switch and it freed off. Okay, that's a good way of doing it. That is actually a good tip. It's like a starter motor. They get a bit stuck. But it's usually when it happens, they can be on their last legs. I I'd be interested to actually take one if I had one that was playing up like that. Let's say my passenger one did start to play up. I'd actually take the regulator out, take the motor out, and see if I can pull the motor apart and clean it up and see if there's anything damaged. Because obviously it's brushed motor, and the brushes will eventually wear out. That's why I think I think the only reason why the driver's one must pack up more is because the brushes that they use were maybe at an inferior quality compared to the ones on the passenger side. I don't know why, because they'd have been made by the same company, but how can you explain that the driver's windows always pack up? Oh, it's done it again. It keeps moving down. Tadaska, speaking about suspension on my estate, I paid €300 February Bilstein for all and €150 for Monroe front. Problem that they're two good makes. Well done. Problem with the estate is that the banana arm is different from the other models and it's hard to find a good one. I'm not so I think they're quite obtainable over here, but I'm not so sure whether in Europe it'd be different. I know that they're very different suspension systems. The dampers are completely different, but the banana arms, I'm not the control arm. Maybe I don't know. You know something that I don't know about them, but I'm pretty certain most of the parts are quite obtainable. Have you got a parts number for that? Because I might be able to help you with that. But then again, there were certain different configurations, so it may be completely different parts numbers, maybe to what they had in Europe. Paul, the only mod I plan on doing to my Magnum Grey gear is painting. That's a good colour for a start. Is painting the front and rear bumper inserts body colour to match the handles and the door trims. That's a good mod. That's a nice subtle modification. It looks neat. It's fine. That's absolutely fine. The only modification that mine has at the moment, I think there's one more to this, but under the bonnet, I have you've got the air deflector panel, the slam panel that sits at the front. It's a plastic piece that sits behind the front grille, and your snorkel basically attaches to it. The air intake snorkel. The air slam panel that I've got is called the 2-litre automatic air deflector. I have got a parts number for it. They were only ever fitted to the 2-litre automatics for whatever reason. Basically, it takes the air from lower down from the grill. It forces the air to come through the front grill and then go up. So it takes air from lower down because it's cooler. Obviously, the lower down the air is cooler and more denser. Engines love cold air. Engines work most efficiently in the cold, in the winter. The air is really nice and cold and dense. But because mine's a 1.6 auto, I thought it would be a nice subtle modification, being an automatic, to have the same modification. Because why should the 2 litre have it and mine doesn't? Does it make any difference? Don't know. I have no idea. It's one of them, it's in your head modifications. You fit it and you think, oh yeah, this is better, but is it in my head? Am I imagining this just because I want it to be better? It's one of them. But I'm all for subtle modifications. That's a nice one, Paul. It's a really nice one. Smirk the Cat. Our Mark 1's known for having rattling boot lids. Both of my Focuses did it. Mine slightly rattles, but mine's had a rear ender, so it, even after having the body shop look at it and adjust it as good as it will ever be, it still makes some rattling sounds on certain bends. I think it's you can feel the. I often think it's when you're going round corners quite fast. You can hear the torsion going through the whole body. Remember, it's a monocoque, so all the stresses that go through the sills and everything, it goes through the whole body, and the tailgates are probably the weak point of the car. So yeah, there's a lot of torsion and a lot of forces going through the body. So I'm not surprised really. It's just one of them things you just have to live with. I've threaded out the rubber pads a bit, and that has been an improvement, but you still hear it when you go over speed bumps. With those rubber pads, I would just wind them out so that the boot is as flush as it is with the rear quarter panels, but not so far out that you have to slam it. Because I've known to do that myself, where you've threaded them out too much and your boot won't lock. You're literally slamming it to shut it, and that's no good for anything. So you've got to be wary about that. Adam, I think that the Mark 1 Focus Classic status will be fully confirmed when the Ford stop making the Focus Total in 2025. That's a good point. That's a very good point. Mark 1s and Mark 2s will become a bit more desirable. Yeah, I would definitely say that's a very good point, Adam. Usually cars are more desirable if they don't exist as a marquee. Mondeo, the same. Mark 3 Mondeos, I think, are quite nice for what they are. They're cheap and they're still quite obtainable. And the Mark 3 Mondeos follow the Mark 1's line of design ethos. It's nice. Yeah, I definitely think so. I thought it was 2024. Did I get my dates wrong? 2024. I thought that's when they were finishing. Maybe I got it wrong. But 2 years is absolutely nothing. It'd be sad. I think it's the right time for the Focus to end, because I think as a name it's lost the meaning. I think it was like the Escort of the latest Focus. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to compare it to an Escort Mark 7 because that was an awful car. Even though they've achieved classic status now because of the nostalgia for Escorts. Even I saw Mark 6 not long ago, and I was gobsmacked by its condition. It was so nice, but they're awful to drive. Well, why would I be interested in one? And I think a lot of people are just honking on that nostalgia. Mark 1 Focuses are going to be 10 times the car that the Escorts have now become in the classic scene, because Mark 1 Focuses, it's not just going to be nostalgia, it's a great car. And that's something you cannot label any Escort. Just asking, Stoke, I see 5 by me, Mark 4 and 5s. Oh, good grief. Arm out Windows Summers Day, love it. Yep, gotta be done. That's what these cars are about. Mark 1 Focuses are best. I think they're best on the A roads, the A and B roads, country lanes, beautiful summer's evening, windows down, go. Put your foot down, live a little. And that's the reason why I'm putting the Focus away for a little bit. Not too long, going to be for a couple of months, but it will be used. I think it's been kind of it will be semi-retired very soon. And I say semi-retired, it will just be used for what I want to use it for, those lovely summer evenings, selectively, and I'll drive it when I want to drive it, when I want to, not when I have to. Commuting is something I have to do. I have to go to work, and that car's been my only source of daily motoring for years. So yeah, I will enjoy the car more because of that. have you tried the bolts, Mad Top, have you tried the bolts that hold the plastic trim above the crash bar? The plastic bumper screws locate. Have you tried the bolts that hold the plastic trim above the crash bar? Right, you mean to realign the boot a little bit? I was looking into this ages ago, and I've got to have a look at this again, because even though I have my boot resprayed, there's a little bit of chafing on the rear bumper. The body shop were a bit concerned by that. I've said to the body shop that plastic reinforcement that sits above the crash bar that the bumper sits on, if they can either shave, we're talking about a millimetre. If that bumper was a millimetre lower, there would be no chafing. And obviously, I'm not going to have I think I've decided not to have the rear bumper done in Easter. I'm just going to have the quarter panel, driver's door and wing sorted on the passenger side, because I can't quite afford to go for a bumper as well. Even though I've got the brand new reinforcers for a bumper up there. So I have planned for it, but when it comes to that, I'm going to ask the body shop to see if they can either shave a millimetre off that plastic reinforcing panel, and we're talking about a millimetre, or can they move it down? Can they actually adjust that down? I don't mind if the rear bumper isn't sitting as flush against the side of the quarter panels and there's a little bit of a panel gap. I don't mind that, because it's not going to be chafing some new paint. I don't mind the bottom of the boot lip getting shaved, because you can't see that, but you'll see the top of the boot lip. The top of the rear bumper lip, I should say. You'll be able to see that. At the moment, mine's got scratches because someone did it really badly, and it's not very good, but it will do for now. But it's probably a while going forward. Where are we? I'm sorry, it keeps on jumping here. Yeah, sorry, I didn't read the second part, man. Top, apologies for that. So you right, so have you tried the bolts that locate the plastic trim above the crash bar? The plastic bumper screws locate into, as mine was moving around a bit, so I sealed them, and as of yet no more water even when I tried to wash it. Oh, that's interesting. No, I've never heard of that, actually. Sorry, you're referring to something completely different. I do apologise. I thought you were referring to like all this. No. I I've not actually sealed around those areas. I think I did one area. Maybe I should do that again. I can get the bumper off quite easily. I might show you guys how to have a look at sealing it. Tedesca, it's funny with the heating. You have you have a gasoline car, petrol car. With TDDI, maximum heating on winter makes the engine cool down to the point that the needle goes cold square. Thermostat is okay, just diesel so cold. To be fair, I will argue that if you have your heater on maximum, on a certain day, you will find that the temperature will go down if your cooling system is in good condition. That tells me that your diesel has actually got a really good cooling system. It's been looked after, so I wouldn't worry about that. That's a good sign of a cooling system. You can have a car that's undercooled, but it's better than overheating or getting too hot or close to the fans kicking in. Because I think personally, if you've got a Focus Mark 1 and your fans are kicking in, and you're not stuck in traffic, it's not a particularly hot day and your fans are kicking in, your cooling system needs looking at. You need to do a flush out, need to change it. I think that is something that I did miss on the cooling system video that I did. That is the top tip I have. If it's not a scorching hot day, if you've not been sitting in traffic a lot of the time, but your fans are cutting in, drop it. Just drop all the coolant, get some OAT coolant, get a hose, flush it all through. And then you'll find a massive difference. Right, I'm just going to get some water while these comments come in. I'm back in 1 minute because my throat is literally killing me at the moment. 2 seconds. Right, okay. Oh my God, there's a bit of a delay. I'm looking at the screen here. I haven't even got up off my seat. That's a really big delay. That's a 30-second delay. There we go. I've just got up off my seat. Blimey heck. That's a really big delay between my phone and the computer. A lot of buffering. Smoke to Cat. My ex had a Mark 2.5. Sorry, my eyes are getting a bit tired. My ex had a... I'll just do my Jeremy Corbyn impression. People keep saying that at work. It's dreadful. Get my glasses adjusted and just fall down my nose all the time. My ex had a Mark 2.5 TDCi. That thing took ages to get to temperature. Interesting. It shouldn't be like that. Maybe does it have a thermostat? That's my first question, because that used to be the old trick to solving a car that was overheating. I'll just take the thermostat out. My mechanic used to say that all the time, but he told me to do it with the P6. And obviously classic cars, it was actually quite a good piece of advice to take the thermostat out. Problem is, it takes ages for them to actually warm up, and that's not ideal either. You don't want excess wear by doing that. Just as in Stoke, my excuse me, throat. My 1.8 TDI gets hot even in -1. Heating is hot after 7 minutes of driving. That's good. You want it to get warm, but at -1, I think you need to do a bit of a flush, like I've said. Because if it's let's say 10-15 degrees, like we've had some mild weather today, mild weather for February. It's been quite a refreshing day actually. Your car might struggle, particularly anything over 20 degrees. So I would think about doing a flush. OAT coolant. I think Manor do some. If you go on eBay, go for the ready mix stuff. It doesn't really matter. Probably about 10 to 15, maybe 12, 13 quid for 5 litres. And that's the capacity of the diesel engines as well. The cooling system in the diesel and petrol engine, virtually the same capacity, about 5 litres. Get the old stuff out, flush it out with a hose. Don't use flushing agents, just tap water. Just flush it out and make sure that it's all gone, and then OET coolant. And then just bleed it out. Well, you don't need to bleed it out, self-bleeding. Just turn it on, wait till the fan's cutting, turn it off, leave it for about 6 or 7 hours to cool completely, and then top up again because the level would have dropped. Mr. Ben, my Mark 1 Focus has been off the road since the end of October, hoping to get it out again once the salt disappears. Can't wait to drive it again. Hey, see, I'm going to join the club, Ben. I'm going to join the club. That's my plan. That's my plan also. The only place in Birmingham with a bit of salt is my works car park. I was not happy when I got to work and finding out that they'd salted the car park. I went very, very slowly because I didn't want the salt being sprayed everywhere. I've actually got to wash it off tomorrow. There wasn't much, but still, it's more than what I'd want. I don't want any salt. Adam, got work tomorrow, so I'm heading off. Honestly, thank you so much for joining us, Adam. Really, honestly, mate, you take care. I shall speak to you soon. Mr. Ben, I sealed the same areas. I know that Adam probably put that message. He's probably gone already, and he put that message up about 5-6 minutes ago. Sorry about the delay. I'm just trying to get through these as best as I can. I sealed the same areas as. You're probably watching this again, aren't you, Adam? You're probably watching this over again on your phone. I know what you like. I sealed the same areas as Mad Top around the plastic reinforcer. Seemed to sort my boot leak. That's really interesting. Okay, maybe it's something I should look at then. because it may have been something I have missed. It can't be really bad on mine because mine's literally a tiny drip. But then again, it's another area. The seams seem to be so poor. It's untrue. I've no doubt that the 45 is going to give me issues because they're dreadful for boot leaks. And again, the rear lights are dreadful on them. In fact, it's so dreadful that someone has actually drilled there's two holes at the bottom of the 45's boot well, the spare wheel well. There's two holes that someone's drilled, and that's a garage. That's a garage who've done that. They think, well, we won't cure the leak. We'll just drill two holes in it, and it won't be an issue for much longer. So instead of dealing with the cause, they just deal with the after effects. I mean, that's a good idea because you don't want water staying in. I mean, I've left it like that, and it's good to probably have two holes there because you're not going to have water coming into the car. It's practically impossible, two very small holes. But that's not the way I work. Deal with the cause, not the symptoms. Mad Top. So the studs come through the body was loose and corresponded with the height location of the leak in the boot. Very interesting. So that's how water's got in. Water has got past the threads. Water is so patient. It will do that. So you sealed the bolts at the body, then sealed the back of the plastic trim, stuck it back on the sealed the nuts after also. Yeah. I don't think that sounds like my problem, but that certainly is an area to be aware of. So I'll cover that in an episode. So this is where I'm learning new things as well. Renatus, got that right. Focus Mark 1. Hello, sir. How are you? Focus Mark 1 LX. Central locking works, but it seems to have a weak range. What could I try? Oh, well, I've got a trick for you, and this is a trick that I'm going to tell everybody else. Just change the key in your fob. If the range is going for the central locking, just change the key in the fob. I think it's a CR2032 battery. Don't get a cheap one. Get a proper Duracell, a proper brand. It's really easy to change the key fob in the battery in these. But I'll tell you a trick. If you've got a key that isn't actually, it's got very little range whatsoever, stand well away from your car. So whatever range it works, unlock it, come away from the car, way away, good few meters away, further than what you can possibly do with that fob, with that key, because obviously the battery's going in it. You put it to your head and just click the button. You don't have to aim it at your car. This isn't like a little pointer with a little laser, you know. You can aim it anywhere you want. Just put it to your head and press the lock button. I guarantee it will work. And you know why? Your brain waves carry that signal to the car. I don't know how it works, but that is what I've been told. Brain waves. So hold it to your head, click the button. Very clever way of doing it. And I was taught that by someone who works at a body shop. It's absolutely incredible. Where's that one? Excuse me. Yeah, so for now, that's the tip I've got for you. Tedasca, this TDCI on city never gets in city. Never gets operating at -10. Outside the city does go. Of course, I've used radiator, new thermostat, and new coolant. Sorry, I'm a bit missing. It never gets to operate. Sorry, it never gets to operating temperature at -10. Outside of the city, it does. Wow, that's incredible. That's what that does. I mean, even a water pumps can get less efficient. They don't just work and not work. Water pumps can become less efficient over time. Good job on Mark 1s though. The water pumps have not got plastic impellers. I'll tell you what, I know somebody with VWs are bad for that. I think Fords do that these days. The water pumps have got plastic impellers and they literally snap into pieces when they get so old. I will say, if you've got a car with a water pump with a plastic impeller, it's so important to use the correct levels of OAT coolant, because OAT coolant, as I've said before, has lubricating properties. They don't just lubricate seals and the hoses, they lubricate plastic impellers. No issues with a Mark 1, it's all metal. And they don't corrode, they're really good. I have a question about the double lock. Mine double blinks when I double click on the remote, but I can still open from inside the car. You shouldn't be able to open from inside the car. The truth is, you should not be doing that. You should never ever deadlock a Focus Mark 1 with you in the car. It's not meant for that. The idea is, if you've got automatic locking, you can enable that. I think I'll show you how to do that. It's a real simple procedure. If you've got automatic locking, the car can't be opened from the outside. It's as simple as that. So you can't be hijacked. It's an anti-hijack. You should never double lock the car with the fob. You should never press this button twice with you in it. Okay? If you do that, you should not get out. You will not be able to open the doors from the inside. Really, honestly though, do not do that. Just press the lock button on the door, and that's enough. It will lock the doors so people can't open the door from the outside, but you can open the door from the inside. No, don't double deadlock it. The only reason you double deadlock is to actually lock from the outside. When you're outside and you want to just make sure that basically double deadlocking, you can't open the door, it's double latched. You can't physically do it. So yeah, if you can open it from the inside the car, I would suggest that it's not double deadlocked, because you can, but I wouldn't think about doing it anyway. As long as you click the key twice for double deadlocking and you can't open the car from the outside, I wouldn't worry about it too much as long as it locks. I would say that it is possible some Focuses were not configured with double deadlocking, but I'm pretty sure yours would have been, even though it's a European one and there are differences, but I wouldn't say that was a difference. Yep, Smoke to Cat changed the battery in the fob. Yeah, that's all it is. Me and wife looked at a Mark III the other week, and the boot was very full of water. They suffered with the vent really bad. Yeah, I've heard Mark III's just as bad. They haven't learnt the lessons about the vents, have they? They are designed to let air in, to air the cabin and air the back of the car, but they let water in as well. Not the way you want it to be. It's just the way it is. When I changed one of my vents, it didn't have the flaps on it. The flaps had literally, the flaps were disintegrating. You could just rip it off, and one of them had fallen off already. So it was just a hole, a big gaping hole. It wasn't a vent; it was just a hole. Smoke to Cat. Actually, the water in your boot acts as an antennae, but the water in your body acts as an antennae. But that was a cool explanation. No, I'm not. Are you sure about that? Because I've been told that it's brain waves. No, I'm not so sure about. Oh, I'm gonna have to look that up. That's all I was told. It works for me, but you know, fair enough. Maybe I got it wrong. I will look that up and do some research. I'll get back to you that one. Tedasco, I wanted to test the system. Wanted to test system on book written 2 times blink and system on. Yeah, but in mine, not. I hear some clicking and locking motor. Yeah, does it open from the outside though? That's the point. If it locks, it locks. Don't worry about the deadlocking. I mean, as I say, if you're in the car, just make sure that your windows are down, because you don't want to lock. You do not want you to basically double deadlock the car, and then something fails in the electrical system and you're locked in the car. That's my biggest nightmare. Just open the window. Just open the window so you've got a bit of safety. You can get out in an emergency. Press the button twice. If you can open it from the inside, it isn't double deadlocked, because you should be locked in the car. You can't open the door. Simple as that. But if you could, as I say, don't worry about that too much. As long as it locks, don't worry about it. You get the blinking. That's the system saying that it is double deadlocking. But it's possible that yours might not have been configured with it in that case, because that blinking is a confirmation of that. Yeah, hold on, let me just take a drink. I've actually reached the end of the comments, which is ridiculous. An hour and a half. Excuse me. As I say, I don't drink when I'm doing streams or when I'm doing any video. I know other YouTubers do that, but I need to stay sober because I've got editing to do when this is over in about half an hour. It does lock from the outside. Okay, so don't worry about it then. Don't worry about it if it locks on the outside. Mad Top, mine will only blink when deadlocked, but not when single locked. Yeah, that's right. So, Tadaska, are you saying that when you lock the car? No, what I'm thinking. Yeah, it shouldn't blink if it's just locked. It should blink when it's double locked. Which one is it doing? It's blinking. I've got a feeling that your car is not programmed for it then, because it should be doing that. I've never heard of any issues with the double deadlocking. The only issue I've heard is it doesn't lock at all, or it's unlocking by itself. And that's something my car's doing at the moment. Well, it has been doing it for a while, but it gets worse in the winter. So I think it's to do with the grease. There is grease inside the actual module, or the driver's door itself. It's the driver's door that's responsible, because it's the master control. And it gets a bit hard, and then you start having issues with doors unlocking. I've never had it lock on me automatically. I've just had it unlock on me. So, bit of a weird one, that. I will say, because I've got to the end of the comments, just to add, in terms of Mark 1 videos, this weekend I'm going to be doing an update on where I am with my own car, because I know I've been going on about the fuel trims. The truth is, and I will be going in more in detail on this in the update, I have come to the conclusion it's not something major, but it's something that may not be quite right at the moment. I have an aftermarket cat which I think might be at the end of its life, because my secondary, the rear oxygen sensor, it's not steady. It's fluctuating. It's not supposed to be like that. I'm going to do a specific video on the Mark 1 exhaust systems, the lambda sensors, the cats, a few things you need to know specifically about the lambda sensors and what to look out for. And if I followed my own advice, the rear lambda sensor, even though it's not thrown a code, which it usually does when the cat is below efficiency, the 4020 code, it is telling me the cat isn't quite doing what it's supposed to be doing. But it isn't got to the point yet where it's going to throw a code, but it's possibly getting close. It's 5 years old. It's probably done 16,000 miles. And from what I've heard about these aftermarket cats, they're pretty cheap. And I bought it as a stopgap, because my original one had given up. It through the 4020 code. And I got this one quite cheap. And these aftermarket ones, give them 20,000 miles max before they wear out. Put it that way. There's not many precious metals in them. The original Ford ones are good, but they do wear out. They're not amazing, but they do have a long life. So yeah, that's where we've got to with that. And I think the car's running absolutely fine, and the short-term fuel trim is exactly where it's needed. So the ECU is doing its job in compensating for something, but I'm trying to find out what. It's not the fuel rail. What I have discovered is that I have a fantastic second-hand fuel rail that works perfectly fine as my original. What I have done off camera is switch the fuel rails. I've put the old fuel rail back on because it's nice and tidy and polished. I couldn't be asked with the other one. And now I know the old one works. The second-hand one, it's back in my spares. So I've reversed that. Basically, I'm going to go into more detail with the update, but the truth is I'm going to leave it alone for the moment. I do have one thing that I'm going to talk about, and that is this oxygen sensor. This one is an aftermarket one, and I'm going to be going into more detail about potentially how you go about changing it. I may just throw this on to see what it does, but I suspect the one on the car is absolutely fine. And most Lambda sensors, they're thrown away when they're perfectly good, and people misdiagnose what could be other things. But this is definitely an aftermarket one. It has no markings on it. The original ones were made by NGK, by the way. They will say Ford NGK. They're the ones you go to. Do not buy Bosch Lambda sensors. I've heard very bad stories about them. But this one is completely unbranded. I paid about £30 for it, which is a bit too cheap. But it works fine. I bought it as a stopgap ages ago. But I've got a second-hand genuine one on now. And that switches, it's doing its switching. It goes from 0.1 to 0.9 volts, and it's constantly fluctuating, which is good news. That's what it's supposed to do. But then I've got a couple of videos on the go as well, and obviously we've got the fact that the Focus will be put in the garage, and I've got to rearrange all that. It's all up in the air at the moment. It really is up in the air. And then somehow I've got to find about a good portion of money to pay for this respray on that side. May time probably. It will be May. Right, so Tedesco, when I single click, it does lock without the blink. Yeah, that's what it's supposed to do. It does blink twice with 2 clicks, but I can open the doors from the inside when I try to test. I'm going to have to just try this myself just for a second. It blinks twice with 2 clicks. That's double deadlocking. That's double deadlocking. But you wouldn't be able to tell from the outside, but you can open it from the inside. That's very, very strange because you shouldn't be able to do that. But if you can hear it, if you've heard it click twice, that's double deadlocking. That is very weird, that is, how you can open it from the inside. There's something not quite right there. That's baffling. As long as it responds to the key, it clicks twice, don't worry about it. Don't worry about the fact that you can open it from the inside. Although, saying that, if you can open it from the inside, maybe potentially somebody can get in if it's not double deadlock, but I really wouldn't worry about it. It's really hypothetical. Smoked a cat. You know, I've learned something new just today after almost 5 years of driving Mark 1s. The front seatbelt mounts are adjustable in height. The seatbelt mounts. Are they they're the ones on the seats? The seatbelt mounts. Oh no, is it the ones on the B pillar by any chance? I'm not sure because they can slide up and down, but they're very clunky and they're a bit funny. The ones on the B pillar, yeah, they're a bit clunky. But you wouldn't automatically think they're there. I really don't like it. You got that little pull bar. You have to pull it down and then sort of like shuffle it up and down. It's nasty. And getting the B pillar trim off and lining, you've got to line a pin with the actual mechanism itself. There's like a pin on the back of the B pillar trim, and you've got to get that lined up with the actual seat back. Oh, it's awful, because you're trying to line that up and then they get the clips lined in and bang it back in without smashing any of the clips. I'd tell you, removing the B pillar and C pillar trim is not something I like. And it would be frustrating to watch. But I will be doing that at some point, because when it does go in for its respray on the passenger side, I'm going to take the quarter panel trim off and a few other bits and pieces. I'll have to strip the doors and everything. So That will probably be done. Talaska, mine is original. Mine has the original cat, but I did pass the MOT and particulates passed too. So I've got to wear my glasses. My eyes are getting tired. Of course, engine looks like new from inside, even not black oil. That's really good. That's really good. That is, whatever focus it is, that's a good sign, that is. And it's got the original cap. Mine has the original Ford cat, only lasted around 25k. Had to have it changed again last week on the third cat. No, knowing mine, and only done 57 miles on the car. Whoa, a Ford cat only lasting 25,000. I'd tell you something, there was something really bad going on to mess with that cat. The one thing that really kills them is unburnt fuel. And if you've got a part of the exhaust system that is not burning fuel, your car won't run right for a start, but that will cause your cat to last no time at all. Fuel just kills them. It gets into the monolith and just wipes out all the precious metals. Same with the sensors. Oh, interesting. So you've had the sensors changed as well. I mean, look, these are wearing items. Yeah, they don't last forever. The biggest thing I'm going to cover in the exhaust video that I'm going to be doing soon, maybe this weekend actually, if I fancy it, the heating elements inside these. The actual sensor will last a long time. The actual sensor part, the bit that takes the reading, but the heating elements are the bits that fail, and that is what causes the sensor to ultimately not read properly. Mr. Ben, I've got an aftermarket cat. Original cat mounts rusted off. Oh yeah, those little arm thingies. Yeah, they're bad. I've known Mark 1s for them to not rot on the actual cat pipe, but actually the ones that are hanging off the body, they can rot. That is something else actually that you've just reminded me of that. I'm going to point out that in the video, because they can rot off the body and they need to be tacked. They're just welded back on with a splodger weld. But they can break off. Been on the car for 8 years, and 65,000 miles. Does struggle a bit on missions now. I have to admit, even if it's a genuine Ford cat or an aftermarket one, they tend to be very marginal with the MOTs. I mean, I can dig out some of the old MOT stats, and every year it's difficult. The one thing that plagued my car for a few years, and I don't know what stopped it, but I changed quite a few of the sensors. I had a bit of a plug and play with sensors to try and get rid of this issue, but the hydrocarbons were very high. Now, the maximum count of hydrocarbons in an MOT test in the UK is 200 particulates per meter, ppm it's called. I think it's particulates per mile or something stupid like that, right? 200 is the max. If it goes over that, fail on the MOT. Mine kept creeping up for many years. In 2017, it was 22. 2018, it was 55. 2019, it was 75. And that's when I did something about it. And now it's gone back down to about 40. And it's stayed the same. I don't know why. It's unburnt fuel. Hydrocarbons are unburnt fuel. So it means that something's not working properly. Well, we've got new spark plugs. I've got new HCs, a new coil pack. I assume the new coil pack, the Bosch one, and the genuine HTs may have done that. So if you're having hydrocarbon issues, that's the area. But in terms of the CO2, the cat can be really marginal. And my garage used to say we had to rev it for about 15 minutes and take it a few cycles, and then put it back through the tester to get it passed. That's how hot they had to get it to work. And that was not just with the original one that was going at the time. This aftermarket one's not that great, to be honest. I will buy a much better cat. I'm not going to get a genuine one because they're too expensive. And it doesn't justify that. An aftermarket one's done me for the last 5 years on this mileage. I'm not going to do 15,000 miles. Well, I'd say the Focus's mileage will be probably 2,000 miles a year, maybe. So I could probably do a lot more years on another cat. Mad Top could only afford a car spares cat, to be honest. And wherever my mechanic got it from, well, that's always a good idea. Second-hand cats, if they've come off a relatively low mileage car, it's worth a punt. And it's recycling, you know, they are expensive. The precious metals that go into them, luckily, there's a lot of recycling that goes on. And please, if you're working on your car and you're changing it yourself, because there's a few people that might watch this and might think, well, go and get them weighed in, because obviously they're worth money and they will get recycled, and the precious metals in them that may be left will just they'll it's a very interesting process how they actually get them out, and then they put them in new cats. Really interesting. It does end up back at exhaust places where they make cats, all this stuff, because they're getting the precious metals is difficult. Tedesca, I broke an A-pillar in mine while we're moving. I'm afraid I am so sorry to hear that. You have joined the club of people who have snapped their A-pillar trims. My C-pillar trims are dreadful. 3 of the clips are snapped where they're going for those metal clips that go into the that basically hook onto the back. Those metal clips are supposed to be stuck in the actual car itself. But unfortunately, the plastic that actually goes into that metal clip gets weak, and when you pull it at the wrong angle, the plastic stays in the clip, but you've pulled the trim off, and then you've ended up with a snapped trim. I've got the same problem. If I have any more of them snap off, I'm going to have to get some spares. I haven't got any, but I'm going to have to get some. And look, they might have the same problem. It really is a big issue. I don't like removing any of those A, B, or C pillar trims, if at all possible. They're just not made very well at all. They're nasty plastics. Your Focus is a 2003 TDDI i90 brake horsepower. Ooh, well, that will last you a long time, because TDDIs can go on for about 500,000 miles, no problems. And at 90 brake horsepower, you're not going to break any speed records, but you really don't need to. It will get to where you need to go all the time. Lovely. It's a nice car, that is. Look after it, please. The diesels seem to be more available in Europe from what I've seen. They tend to be more popular than the petrols in certain places. Mr. Ben, I've started using a bottle of Cat Clean before the MOT. I've tried I call them snake oils. I've tried Red X. It's all the same stuff. It's Red X, actually. I'll tell you a story about a lot of them. Cat Clean Red X. What it is, you have like a 250ml bottle. The actual product that actually does the cleaning is like that. It's like 5-10ml of that 250ml bottle. Probably 10ml of that is the cleaner, the bit you're paying for. What they do to make, but this is the thing, they can't say to a customer, look, we're going to charge you £3 or £4 for 10ml. You'd think, you're having me on. So what they do to make it more sellable, to put on the shelves in Halfords or wherever they go, they bulk it up with kerosene. So 240 millilitres is kerosene. 10ml is the actual thing that cleans. So that's something to know about. When they call them snake oils, you're buying a bottle of kerosene with the cleaner that probably works very well. It does the job. It's not fake. They do work. I think there was something on Fifth Gear years ago where they bought a VW Corrado. Some of you may have seen this. And they bought it, put it on a rolling road, did a brake horsepower test. And then they basically changed the air filter and the spark plug, the air filter. Then they did it again and it went up by 1 horsepower. Then they changed the spark plugs and it went up by another 3 horsepower. Then they put Red X in it. Red X, and it went up by 5 horsepower. So it does work. This stuff does work. Tedesca, mine before the MOT is Italian tuning. High revs, new filters, oils for a bit of distance. That's the best way of doing it. I try and do that before an MOT. Just take it on a good, long, hot run. But I make it clear to the garage that this is the time my car is booked in for the MOT. Can you put it in straight away? Because I'm going to be driving it to get it nice and hot. Can you just please put it in as soon as you can? This is what I get fed up with one of my garages. I know garages are busy and things go off on one, but when your car is booked for a certain time, try and get it done around that time. Because what I did the last time is I took it on a big Italian run, got it nice and hot because I wanted it, because I was thinking the cat's going to be marginal. I parked it outside the garage at the time of the MOT, left it with them, went up to my parents up the road for like just a cup of tea, just while I was waiting. 2 hours later, still haven't phoned. I'm like, Christ, it's failed again, hasn't it? This is why it's taking so long. No, it passed. But they didn't actually get round to doing it for another hour. So all that getting hot, then it stood still for about an hour before they tested it. Might as well not bother, because it would cool down by then and it wouldn't have really made much of a difference. So I always insist on that now, that they put it in straight away. I said, look, it's marginal with the MOT. I'm going to get it nice and hot so you guys can just put it straight forward and get it through that MOT. Obviously, it's timed. MOTs are timed, so they have to put it through the emissions, and it has to time out by 20 minutes, something like that, from the start of the test. I don't know what. Someone said that they have to time it by 20 minutes. So it's possible to do the MOT, the emissions first, get that out of the way, and then do the rest of the MOT. Smoke the Cat, my 1.6 has the, excuse me a second. It's got the original cat and sensors, no emission issues whatsoever. It did have marginally bad fuel mileage when I bought it, but that dreaded rotten vacuum line was the culprit of that. Yeah, they're really fragile, those lines. There's one that goes to the charcoal canister and one that goes to the fuel regulator. They are like brittle plastic. I was literally working on the original ones that I had on my car. I literally was doing some work. I can't remember what I was doing now. I think I might have been changing some spark plugs. And I was just looking down the back of the engine because I thought I saw some oil leaking. I literally just got my elbow and the whole thing had just, literally the one line just went. I didn't even put my elbow down on it. I just sort of, it was there and it just, the ones I've got now are much better for some reason, even though they're... Oh, okay, I think we might have lost the connection a bit there. So, weird one that. I've got some spare ones. I made sure that when I went to the scrapyard, I got some spare vacuum lines and I've got them in my spare box. I've got 3 or 4 of them because of that incident. It made me think this is something that will go again, possibly. So it's worth getting them. And I don't think you can get them brand new now. It's unobtainable. I could get a parts number, but I think they're unattainable. But that's remarkable. It's on the original cat. That's really good to know. It's obviously been well looked after. It's been well driven. It's been taken to temperature. And it hasn't been misfiring and burning, or basically having unburnt fuel around the cat. It's good, good. Mr. Ben 747 just had a look, and the CO on the natural idle test seems to be where mine has struggled. Oh, the natural idle. Let me get mine out. Sorry, I need to refer to mine actually, because when you talk about natural idle, because there's a fast idle and natural idle. I'm just going to take a random one out. I haven't got the emission sheets for the last 2 MOTs. Maybe you can guess why that's missing. I've got so much paper. I've literally got a binder that big for the Focus now, just running out of paperwork. In terms of the MOTs, if I could dig out an emission sheet. There we go. Yeah, right, this was the last one. 2021, 2 years ago. So my car had done a lot less miles than what it's got now. Right, so natural idle test. CO 0, nothing. That was pretty good. That's pretty good. So yours is on the natural idle. That's interesting because usually that's actually, to be fair, the natural idle is where it's actually higher than the fast idle, because when you've got fast idle, it's hotter, so it works more efficiently. There'd be lower CO2. Whereas at idle, that's where you'd have less heat on the cat. I'm going to talk about that actually when I do the exhaust video. I'm not really going to focus too much on the exhaust pipes because it's exhaust pipes or exhaust pipes. I'm going to focus on the cat and the lambda sensors. Fast idle test. Okay, so the RPM, they never check them. They don't say they check them. CO, so the hydrocarbons was 131. Sorry, I got it wrong actually when I said it was 40. It was actually higher back then. And this is the thing. This was after I changed the coil pack and HT leads, and it made no difference to the hydrocarbons. I don't know what the MOT emissions were last year. I mean, the MOT is coming up, and I will hopefully make sure that they give me this emissions test, so I can actually see. Well, I don't know if it fails basically. And the CO, well, the CO limit is 0.200. The CO on mine is 0.020, so 20 out of 200 is brilliant for fast idle. That one, yeah, so that's what we're looking at. And that's with my aftermarket one. That was 2 years ago. Hydrocarbons does seem to be a bit of an issue on mine. Always has been. Not sure what. I mean, hydrocarbons are unburnt. That's unburnt fuel. So if that's unburnt fuel, why is my cat still working fine? Or I think it might be might be on its way out. We'll see. Smirk to cat. I've heard about a trick where they drill a small hole in the exhaust just before the cat, so it draws a little bit of extra air to get those CO2 readings down. There's not a lot of room for error though. I've heard something very similar. Basically, the way the cat works is it works on oxygen. You need oxygen in the cat to perform a chemical reaction to get rid of all them pollutant gases, to reduce those gases. And so what comes out the cat, if you've got a very efficient cat, you will have no oxygen that leaves the cat. Okay? You'll have lots of oxygen going in. You have oxygen going in, and the oxygen is, but it's all burnt. The oxygen is burnt in that cat, and it is basically used to speed up that chemical reaction. Obviously, the precious metals help speed up that reaction, but the oxygen is the thing that makes it work. And then what comes out? No oxygen, but cleaner gases. That's why you get the discrepancy between the front lambda sensor, the first one, and the rear post lambda sensor. Okay, that rear one should be measuring very, very little oxygen at the best. The one here should be measuring lots of oxygen. That's kind of the reason why the rear one should be stable in the readings on the code reader, and the front one is fluctuating. But anyway, I'll go more over that in the exhaust video. I'm telling you my video before I've even made it. It's ridiculous. Not everybody watches these live streams though. Not everybody will. So Tedesco, I do look after mine. Castro turbo diesel platinum man filters, new suspension, installed a trip computer, that's handy. Fog lights, timer for the intermittent wipers. Oh yeah, that's good. You got the switch then for the intermittent wipers. That's really nice because on a normal Focus, it's slow, too fast, extremely fast. Nothing in between at all. I just literally do a flick. I just push the stalk down to just do a flick every so often. You honestly, in the UK especially, we are masters at using our wipers. I think I watched a comedy show ages ago. It's Michael McIntyre. If you've watched Michael McIntyre, such a brilliant comedian. I love to go to one of his shows at the Palladium, and he was like, in the UK, people we're experts at using our wiper blades all the time. When it's raining, we know exactly what we need to do with our wiper controls. We're there at our car. Rain is on the windscreen, and we're thinking, oh, is it getting a bit wet now? I'll put it on the first setting. Clean, nice. And then we leave it on the first intermittent setting. It's getting pitter patter. Come on, wipers, why aren't you turning on? It's getting rain and getting worse. I can't see now. And swoosh. Whew, thank God. Oh my God, it's clean the windscreen. I don't have to move it to the next one. Trust me, it was a bit more funny than the way I said it, but honest to God, that man's hilarious. We are real experts at the way we use our wipers. That sounds like a really looked after car. So really, honestly, look after it. It's really good. Just keep going with it. The little bits and pieces in there that you can do at home makes a huge difference. If you are doing your own work, if you're not, that's fair enough. But honestly, there's a lot of things you can do by yourself. It's ridiculous. Although I will say, the glow plugs on the diesel models are not known for failure, but when they do go, it is a bit of a pain to get them out sometimes. They do get a bit stuck. And you do need a bit of a special tool for that. By the way, the timer thing you only need the new handle, the wiper, and the one wire from the handle to the gem. Yes. You need to make sure if you are going to upgrade, because obviously you only get the intermittent wiper switch if it's a Kia or an ST170 where you've got the little toddle on the wiper arm, the wiper switch. You can only use that if it's a facelift model. If you've got a pre-facelift, you will not have that wire that goes to the GM module. That's a very good point, that is. And it is something I had to look into because I actually fitted one. I've actually got one up there, actually, an intermittent switch. I fitted it, but then I just want it to be original. So I've gone back to the crap old way of not having an intermittent wiper. Yes, it's subtle, but I thought, nah, just swap it back over. But I enjoyed it. And I do have the wiring for it, and I did check it out. You have one little pin and that wire, and it's all the compatibility is there in the GM module. You just need to fit it. Mr. Ben, my car 2021 test 135,000 miles, so fast idle 0.95. Yep, so good. So you basically you cut yourself halfway there towards the max of what they will allow for the test. Hydrocarbons 36 ppm. That's interesting. Okay, so yours is doing better than mine then. But it does seem to be a thing with Focuses on the hydrocarbons. I don't think the ignition systems are particularly refined, put it that way. Natural idle 0.291. That is going up for the maximum. That's just under the maximum there. So it is struggling a little bit. That suggests to me that the cat is not brilliant, but it's okay as long as they don't rattle. That's the other problem is they get so old that they might still work, but they just the actual structure that holds the monolith, it is made of aluminiumized steel like the rest of the exhaust, but they can rust and they can corrode, and all it takes is the welded joints on the inside. I would love to actually just cut one open. And to be fair, I'm not desperate for the money. If I get that cat off in the near future, I'll make a video of it. And do you know what? I'll cut it open. I'll just see what it's like on the inside. But I'm pretty sure you've got those uprights, and they're just spot welded on to hold the monolith together. When those spot welds rust and they just crack, you'll get the rattling, and the whole monolith will shake. And to be honest with you, that's when the monoliths collapse. But it does. You will know if you've got a collapsed cat. You will have severe back pressure on the engine. You will lose power. There won't be any code. There's no codes for that, by the way. There's no codes. I think some people, they literally drive the car, and as you know, you could have an engine that's backfiring or really underpowered. You can have disc brakes making horrendous racket noise and the car pulls to one side. But you got the owner saying, oh, but I thought it was fine because there's no codes. Please. Some people are just so reliant on code, the car telling you what's wrong. So if there's no warning lights, no problem apparently. Oh, dearie me. Smoke to Cat, slow, fast, way too fast is exactly how it is. It is so true. I mean, whoever thought about that is just stupid. They need the fast one needs to be fractionally slower, and that will be perfect. And then the fast one. Have you ever used it? I've only ever used it when it's hailed when I've driven the car, and it's just torrential come down. It's literally a few minutes of hail, and I've had to put it on. It's stupidly fast. I tell you, it feels like I don't want to put it on that speed because, you know, I'm on touchwood. My wipers are still on the original ball joints, the original wiper arms, and the ball joints can pop off, and it is known for them to pop off and the wipers stop completely. I don't want to put it on that setting. I don't want to take that risk. I installed that wire. Oh, Tedesco, I installed the wire myself because I didn't have it. Same with the trip computer. With that, I needed 16 wires. So you wired. Did you get another loom or something? Because I'm not sure. I'm not even sure how that plugs in. Is there a plug on the loom for the trip computer where it slots in? Wow. If you did that yourself, that's pretty impressive. Smirk to Cat, do you guys get printouts of your emissions testing in Great Britain? We do. If you don't have printouts, it's either the mechanic has forgotten it or it's a dodgy MOT. Yeah, sometimes that's the only way, sometimes. In Belgium, we just give them a drink. Just give the guy a drink and he'll sort you out. I know a garage who actually does it, and what they do is they put the exhaust pipe up a much newer car, and it passes. You can imagine, like, you know, you type Ford Focus Mark 1, Ford Focus 98 2005 into the emissions computer using the VIN number, and it will calculate what the limits are for that car, what the expected limits are, and then it gets a really, you know, like the limits are 0.300 for the natural idle test, and it's reading absolutely zero hydrocarbons, zero on the fast idle. You know why? Because it's up a brand new one. Computers don't know that. That's what happens. What I don't like with these sort of MOTs is people driving around with dodgy discs, dodgy brakes, CV boots that are split and leaking grease. There's all sorts of nasty cars out there, and you know they would never have passed an MOT. The Focus on the Mark 1 owners group with those rotten arms, you know, it's horrible. And the MOT testers who take it too far at the end of the day. I know a good MOT tester is very fair. He will tell me if there's a problem. If it's a problem with the emissions, we'll discuss it in the office. But apart from that, he'd just tell me, get it done, and he knows I'll get it done. I have that sort of relationship with my MOT tester, and it's a good relationship. And I think if you meet a good one, I mean, look, it comes back on them. Whatever they do on the MOT test, you've got to understand it comes back on them. If they pass a car that is not passed, that shouldn't have been passed because of dodgy suspension or brakes, and that car goes and kills. What they're trained, the way the MOT tester I spoke to, the way he told me was when they went in for their MOT training, which they have to do every so often, there is a guy who will say, what you have to understand is, are you safe with passing that car and knowing that if that car left that garage and killed 4 people, you are not going to have any comebacks. It's as simple as that. You have to think that that car could go out and kill 4 people because of dodgy brakes. Have you done your checks properly and you are happy to pass that car? It's as simple as that. Most garages do give an emission printout with the MOT, but you may have to ask for it. No, you shouldn't need to ask for it. They should give it to you automatically. No, if it was done above and board, they should do it. They should give you the printout. Simple as that. Send up Rover 420 owner. Hey, we have a Rover owner. There we go. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is not a Ford channel, but Mark 1. Well, I've got lots of passionate Mark 1 owners, and I love Rovers. And I'm probably going to do a stream specifically for the Rover viewers. I don't know how many people I would have, but honestly, even if it's only a few people, that's how we start. That's how I started with the streams for Mark 1s, basically. Just been sat quietly, listening to you guys, learned quite a bit. Thank you for an enjoyable stream. Honestly, Send Up TV, thank you so much. Are you a channel in yourself? I have to check your channel. Are you putting any videos on? Because it sounds like you're an actual channel in yourself. 420. Now, is that an R8 by any? Is that an R8 by any chance? Because if you've got a 420, so that's the 2 litre T series. They are as rare as hen's teeth. Keep hold of that. Seriously, I think the 420s are quite desirable as they are. Yeah, I like that. People keep saying get an R8, and I would be up for an R8. The only thing that puts me off about them is there's so many of them now with rotten arches, and I just think I've been and done that with one car. I just don't want it. And the 45 out there is so solid. It's just, I'm going to get good at welding, put it that way. Smoke to Cat. MOT stations in Belgium. Are they actually called MOT stations where you are? Because some call them like vehicle safety tests or something like that. Or it's the MOT equivalent, isn't it? So they're not private garages. They are government subcontractors. You cannot buy them a drink. Oh, that's interesting. I tell you what, if that was the way in this country, then we would have a much, put it this way, we've safer roads for everyone. Okay. You see, in the UK, with being private garages, it is also a flip side of a coin. Garages will most likely, a lot of them, if they know you're a vulnerable customer, you're an old man, old lady, someone who hasn't got a clue in cars, they will fail your car on the stupidest of things. I know a trick, and I know someone who used to work at Quick Fit, right? And they were pressured to hitting targets. And you can imagine what sort of things go on during the MOT tests. What they do is you get a bit of engine oil, you put it under the shock absorber, and you say, listen, love, shock's leaking oil. So we've got to change this shock, and we've got to change the other one. And it's something out of Consumer Watchdog. It is literally like that. It's not fake, and it still goes on today. Little old lady, we'll get some money off her. Definitely. They will make any sorts of crap up to actually fail a car in an MOT, and shock absorbers are one. That's an easy one, because at the end of the day, that's how it is. Good job I know my car. If you're someone who doesn't know, literally, do not go to a garage and say, I don't know about cars, and they're just going like that behind the desk. Don't do that. Even if you don't know much about cars, try not to give that impression. Make sure you have some knowledge of your car and what you're looking at, or what sort of work you're looking for them to do. Just make sure you make them aware about that, because that's, can be difficult. But yeah, it's quite a cultural thing in the UK to buy them a drink. It depends what it is. If it's to get your car through an MOT, through the emissions, fine. But if we're talking about, my brakes aren't very good, no, that's a no-no. No. And most MOT testers will tell you to go away. It's their livelihood at the end of the day. I don't agree with it. And you know what? If the government actually sets something up properly, I think it's VOSA, VOSA are the board in charge of MOT testing in this country, the licensing and the licensing for MOT testers. They personally, if the government funded them properly, it should be like this here. But we don't have the infrastructure. I've got to be honest with you, in this country, there's a backlog of MOTs. Garages are full to the brim with cars with MOTs because of COVID. It's just been a complete backlog. Tedesca, connector for trip computer, same from connection for the trip computer is the same for the instrument cluster. So just get from Scrapyard the wiring for all four doors. For me, will be spaghetti. Every front door is 20 wires. That's a good idea. Well, that's a really good thought. That is actually. I mean, all 4 electric windows with auto down function. Yeah, it's a lot of wiring. It is a lot of wiring. I'll just keep it the same as it is. I wouldn't mess with it too much, but plug and play can be a case of. I mean, if you, I presume you may have manually adjusted mirrors in your car. If you have manually adjusted mirrors, there is a little modification you can make to make electric mirrors. You need the electric mirrors themselves, the fascia panels to go on the inside of the mirror, and the switch. You can bolt the switch straight to the wiring. There should be some wiring in the doors. Not every car has the wiring for electric mirrors, but the wiring most likely will be there on quite a few models. That's a nice plug-and-play one if you're wanting to convert from manual mirrors to electric. I don't have the wiring, unfortunately. I did look into that when I was messing about with mine. Yeah, 96 SOI, send up TV. Right, nice one. Is it an estate? Because I've seen a lot of 420s as estates. They're very practical things. SOI is a very common spec, that is. Okay, just had rear arches and sills replaced last year. Oh, you've gone over a hurdle then. Well done. Like it. Yeah. I would like. I replied to someone the other day who put a comment up saying, I'd love if you went for an R8, and I would buy one for a good price, but one that is not as rotten as a pear on the back side of things. It's had bits done. It's been looked after by a previous owner. It's not a complete rebuild job like the 45 is becoming. Well, is. I'd want to own one as an experience for a couple of years, then move it on. So I'm not willing to buy one and rebuild it. I'd want a car to just not rebuild. I might not have it that way though. The problem is when I spend so much money on a car, the car owes me so much, and then I can't get rid of it because sometimes you just don't want to make all that effort. Then you sort of think, oh, I'll just sell it on, and then somebody else has gone and bought a really nice car, and they're actually taking advantage of your hard work and graft and your money, the time money you've put into it. Tedesca, in Lithuania is the same. MOTs, government contractors, and as I've heard from you, they do it a bit different. I wonder how strict are these MOTs in Europe? How strict? Because in the UK, it's a bit varied. You can have some weird MOT testers that will put all sorts of stupid advisories down and fails that are just not fails. It is discrepancy. One MOT tester will judge it different from another. Smoked they've recently introduced a new way of diesel particulate test here in Belgium. Almost every diesel that's over 10 years old fails now. It's horrible. It feels like a scam. That's awful, that is. So diesel particulate... So it sounds like it's just another way of getting older cars off the road. Governments don't want older cars around now. Particularly older diesels. They just want them gone. They've probably set that test up so that unless you have particularly if you have a Mark 1 Focus or any diesel that age of that generation, particularly they're pre-diesel particulate filters. This is the thing. These cars are pre-DPF cars. So I don't know. That's a bit of an unfair one, that is. It does sound like there's a bit of a regime going on there. That's really awful. It's a waste. I think there's going to be some severe regret in 10, 20 years. Not, everywhere in Europe, everywhere where they're trying to ban older cars. And then I don't think this electric malarkey is... It's a false errand. It's the next best thing, but it's not the solution. And getting rid of older cars is just not helping. Not helping. It's a waste. My mirrors are electric. I think I have the LX model, so you will have electric mirrors on them. Fair enough. Mine's a Zetec. That's why I've got manual ones. That's good. That's very good. Smoke to Cat. The rest of continental Europe will follow on that new test, so be prepared. Please. Although I say that, I mean, I don't say this as someone who voted for it, Brexit. There are some things that the UK are simply not following, but it's not for the greater good of the UK citizens. It's fraud. Brexit is not Brexit. It's a bit of a sham, to be honest, and I just want us to go back in. It's a sham. But there were some things that we're not following. I suspect we will, though, because the UK is obsessed with clean air zones and driving out the old cars. And quite frankly, this isn't about cleaning the emissions up. I don't want to get too political, but the UK government has now got this new regime where they basically are trying to wipe out private transport. They do not want the working class to be driving cars. They want me on my bike or walking or on the trains or on the buses. They do not want me owning cars. It's as simple as that. They don't mind it if you own a newer car because you're providing income for the economy. But they don't want older cars. They don't want old money. They don't want poor people owning cars and driving cars. They want us out. That's the regime. It's not about making the air clean. That's just a byproduct. Too political. I could go on all day about that. Really, honestly, I should do a thoughts of the week based on the government's the UK government at the moment. What have I got? Right, so that will be basically every Mark 1 TDI, TDCI out of action then. Do you know what? This is how it's how stringent it's followed up. In this country, as I say, we do not have a government independent MOT tester. It's private garages, and that means buy them a drink. Tedesca, here emissions for diesel is not fair too. They max the revs to redline to check how much particulates the diesel will come out. Some engines don't come out alive. That's shocking. That's really bad. I tell you what, if they started doing that here, there'd be absolute uproars. I tell you what, if your car got damaged during an MOT test, there are some legal implications in this country for doing that. I mean, an MOT tester can just say, well, it could have happened at any time. It could have happened on your test drive. But from what you've just said, if they start doing things like that and redlining it, there will be some legal implications for that. I think they'd have in this country, because of the red tape we have in the UK, then a garage would have to get you to sign some sort of disclaimer about damage, and if they started doing that, that's really bad. I mean, in an MOT, 3,000 RPM, no more than that. Can't do any more than that. Got to go. See you all next time. Thank you, Send Up TV. Take care, sir. Thank you so much for joining. I will be doing a much more focused live stream, specifically from my Rover audience, because, I have so much to say. Excuse me, my glasses have just dropped. I have an eye test in 2 days' time, so I don't care about these. Andrew, hi mate. Sorry, I've never caught your name. I've never caught your name. Yeah, my name's Andrew too. So sorry about that. I have to introduce myself as Andrew every so often because I've had so many new people join up. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't come automatic. I don't even think when I'm making videos that, well, actually, some of the audience might not know who I am, and I will recap so often. Although I get bored of YouTube channels that keep repeating the same dross all the time about who they are and what they're doing. So, come on, if you want to know who I am, go back a bit. In fact, I would encourage people to go back a bit and watch my old videos. I need the views. I need the views, guys. I need the views. Come on. I have a Focus-Mark 1 Y Reg 1.6. It needs the front control arms changing as the bushings are worn and knocking. How big a job is it to do? And Andy and Bolton. It's not. The front control arms are actually quite decent. The first thing you've got to do is you jack it up. The first bit of the job is getting the bottom bolt out. So you basically got the two bushes that sit on the subframe, on the inner subframe. Those are the bushes that have gone potentially. The ball joints tend to go before the bushes. So when the ball joint knocks, it's like game over. It's usually why. A lot of people just replace just the ball joint, and then they sort of cut the rivets off and then bolt it on with. Don't do that. Just replace the whole arm. If the ball joint's gone, the bushes are going to go soon. Don't buy a cheap arm. Get a £50 arm. At least £40-50. That's a decent arm, that is. Don't get a cheap aftermarket one. Get a semi-decent aftermarket arm. The first thing you do is you take out the bolt that is just above where the ball joint sits on the hub at the bottom. So underneath the disc, you'll have the ball joint. Take that bolt out, okay? You may need to, you take the nut out, take the nut off. I can't remember if it's a 13 or 15, probably a 15. Then you need to get just a hammer and a pin punch and just punch the rest of the bolt out. The bolt will be stuck in, just punch it out, okay? Now don't worry, because the arm won't drop. It's under pressure with those bushes. It's not going to slam onto your fingers when you push that bolt out. Once you've got the bolt off, usually you get a new bolt with the kit. Then get a long scaffold bar or a crowbar and wedge it against the footwell. So where your pedals are, your footwell is, just wedge the crowbar on the arm, put your foot on the other end, and bang, crack. You'll break the ball joint off the hub, and then the hub will sort of swing off a little bit to the left or right. Just move the hub out the way. It won't move far because the drive shaft's still attached. Then, to detach the inner bushes, you've got one bush that's been held on with a bolt that goes across. That's just a simple case of winding that bolt out. It might be a bit tight, but they don't. The front control arm bolts do not seize in the bushes like the rear ones. So just take the bolt out. If you're struggling to wind it out and thread out, just try and get your hand and just pull the sodding thing out, or just get a little pry bar and just tap the hammer and just see if you can edge it out. That's the front one, because it goes on the front of the subframe. You'll see the bolt as it comes through. That's the front one towards the front of the car. The rear bush on the back of the subframe is held in by two bolts that go underneath the subframe. Take them two out, and then you can just slide the whole thing off. That's it. And getting a new one on, it can be a bit of a faff getting it in position because you've got the hub in the way, which is sometimes people take the drive shaft out the hub and then you can swing it even more, but don't worry about that. It might be a bit tight, that's the faffy bit, but just slide it in, line up the two bolts that go on the rear bush, line them up, thread them in by hand, put the front bolt in, slide that in, get it in a few threads. So make sure they're all in by a few threads, don't tighten them up too much yet. Then get the ball joint and then just pop the ball joint into the bottom of the hub. And then you're literally ready to stick in that bolt for the ball joint and the nut. Whether you use a new one or not, it doesn't really matter. The bolt, that bolt is a Torx bolt, by the way. So you've got to use a Torx bit and then a socket for the nut on the ball joint side of things. And then you just tighten up all the bolts. So there is a torque setting. It's in the manual. So just torque them up if you've got a torque wrench. It's as simple as that. Just tighten them all up equally. It's not a hard job. It's just a faff to try and shuffle it in position because the hub's kind of in the way. You might have to press the arm down and then sort of slide it into the subframe, because if the hub's here and you're trying to get the arm to go sort of in to the slot into the subframe, and that's as far as it goes. It's not too hard. Smoke to Cat, pre-DPF cars are still tested with the old method for now. Thank God. Andrew Walsh, I think keeping an older car on the road is better for the environment. My Mark 1 is nearly 22 years old. It still runs fine apart from the odd knock from control boxes. Honestly, this is the way it is. It's classic cars and modern classics. Old cars is the ultimate form of recycling. Instead of buying a new car, you're just buying an older car that's there. It's being manufactured. There's no resources needed for that car no more, apart from new parts, which is always good for jobs and businesses and the economy. So you're still, this is the thing. The classic car movement has a good sway because it provides a lot of jobs. But these cars are not at the age of being a classic, really. They're not that old or not perceived to be that old. So it's just an old car that people want to get rid of. We are going to have a bit of a problem, I think. I think we're going to have a bit of a gap where we're going to have lots of classic 60s, 70s, 80s, maybe 90s cars. And then I think the noughties cars and the 2010 to 2020, the generation from about 2005 to 2020, they're going to be forgotten. There will not be many of them at all because they're overcomplicated. Most of them would just not see the light of day as far as becoming a modern classic, getting to 20 years old. It's just, there's too many things against them now, sadly. And these Euro 7 cars that are coming out now, or Euro 8 or Euro 7, they are the most complicated internal combustion cars ever. Their exhaust systems are more expensive to replace than the rest of the car because of the amount of lambda sensors. It's stupid. So they're definitely not going to be on the list in the 2040s. I'm going to have to knock this on the head because this has been going on for 2.5 hours. So I'm going to read through these and then I'm going to stop because I've been going on for too much. I say I've got to do some video editing after I've done this because my voice is starting to pack up as well. I do enough talking at work. Tedesca, yeah, they do for a few seconds max revs, and if the engine fails, they say, "Oh well, your engine was bad." That's a shocking attitude, that is. Of course, the engine's not going to suffer. I'm not being funny. Not many engines can take sort of that sort of abuse for very long. Shocking. Absolutely shocking. The thing is, there's nothing you can do about it because you have to have it done for it to be on the road. That's shocking. Yeah. It's a bit of a catch-22. There's nothing you can do about it. Smoke to Cat, new test counts the actual ppm of diesel particulates. The old test just measures the opacity of the smoke. Yeah, it's a smoke test. Yeah, we've got that in. We've got that for older cars. It's I think it's pre-2001 cars. It's just a smoke test. Yeah. Andrew Ross, thanks Andrew for the info. Much appreciated. No worries, sir. I mean. That's a video I'd like to make, but my control arms are good. But if they become bad, because they're not genuine ones, the ones on my car. If they become bad, straight away, I'll do a video. But that's as simple as what I can put it. I agree about the environment thing. My diesel makes less CO than a petrol engine on the book, 131 grams per kilometre. That's really good. Because that's less than a 1.6 petrol Focus. It's not the CO that's a big thing. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you something. My 1.6 automatic Focus, it's a killer for the tax. 192 grams per kilometre. That's shocking. In the UK, we have banded tax emissions. So basically, mine is one of the highest bands. Band A starts at like 0 to 50, and then it goes on. My Focus is in band J. So it's higher than the manual. Manual 1.6 Focuses are usually around 145, 150 kilograms per mile, something like that, 150. Mine's 192 because it's the automatic. They always produce more on the sort of things because you're revving them more, I suspect, to achieve the same sort of performance. Band J, £330 in tax a year. I have to do it separately. I really do. The Rover 45, 1.8 automatic. It's worse. It's worse. It's 203. That is in band K. 360 a year. You can see why. The tests are one thing. The tax is a killer on these cars. A real killer. Carbon monoxide is never an issue for diesel. It's a petrol car issue. Subparticulates are what's killing the old diesels. CO is what's killing the old petrols. Yeah, pretty much. As I say, environmentally, diesels, great for the environment, not very good for us. Petrols, the opposite. What do you want? That's the thing. What's more of a priority? Is there proof that people are dying because of diesel soot? I believe that if, particularly in the UK, if it was done by the book, the emissions are done by the book, by VOSA, by independent testing stations, no buying him a drink and all this, give him 20 quid in there. No. If it was done via the book, we would not have cars puffing out black smoke everywhere. Clearly, they shouldn't have. Diesel, there are so many diesels in Birmingham. I pass it every day. I can smell it a mile off. Some of them are damn right. They're all illegal. You've got DPFs that have just been hollowed out and all that crap. If it wasn't for them sort of people, I wouldn't think the diesel's not a problem. These new diesels, if you've seen the tailpipe of one of these new diesels from about 2015 onwards, they're clean. There's absolutely no soot whatsoever. They're so the emissions controls on them are so high tech. They are not the problem. Yet older diesels are the problem, but it's not really that. We've come a long way. I know what it means to talk while so I will take rest. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Ben, nitrous oxide is the issue with diesels. Yes, it is. It's the NOxes. Yes, it is. It's the thing that's causing apparently giving people health issues in the cities. I would argue, particularly, I mean, we've got a clean air zone in Birmingham, which is to those of you who don't know, it's the second city of the UK of England. Obviously, London being the capital, Birmingham the second city, famous for being the city of the Peaky Blinders. For some reason, people only see people associate Birmingham with the Black Country and Peaky Blinders, and you are no, I'm Brummie. I don't speak Black Country. Peaky Blinders is not a representative of that. But we have a clean air zone in Birmingham, and it basically bans every diesel which is older than 2015, regardless of how clean they are. 2015 is the cut-off. And petrols from about 2006. But certain cars are will pass Euro 4. My Focus, the Focus Mark 1 from 2001 will pass it, even though it's no different from the 98, the versions in 1998. It's only because the 2001 versions have got the emissions stamped on their logbook. That's why they can go into clean air zones. So I can still drive to work in it. But honestly, if you've got breathing difficulties, don't live in the city. Live further out in the suburbs. That's my solution. If you've got breathing difficulties, don't live in a crowded city like Birmingham. That's my attitude. Okay, some people may not have that choice. They might be on the council list and they might be living in a block of flats. And we've got a lot of tower blocks within the clean air zone. some of the most poorest and least wealth people within Birmingham, fair enough. But if you're not in that category and you can afford to live somewhere else, go and live somewhere else, because it's clearly not going to good. It's not going to be good for you anyway. The ring road is jammed. It's jammed of cars going round there's a ring road in Birmingham, a massive ring road. Okay, that's where the cut-off point is for the clean air zones. Big circle, and my workplace is on the boundary of that, by the way, just on the inside. But every day I have to commute along that ring road to get to work, and it's jammed full of people trying not to go in the zone, just working their way around it. It's a joke. It's not saving anyone's life. Also, due to the higher compression ratio, yes, that might be an issue, but yours more than me. Right, I'm going to leave this live stream here because I've got to get cracking on some editing because my voice is completely gone. We've had a lot of people watch this, and I've no doubt more people are going to watch this live stream when I actually end it now, because it automatically goes through to the channel. I'm going to end this too. Thanks to the chat, Andrew. Love your work. Thank you very much, sir. I will continue doing what I'm doing. It may be a bit slow. It's Rover dominated at the moment, but there'll be a bit more balance to it. And I hope to go to some shows very soon. Maybe not in the Mark 1 immediately, because I want to get the Mark 1 looking a bit better on the paintwork side. I'm not happy with it at the moment. Yet it might look like a mint car. It's like one of them. Yeah, it's one of those 10-foot cars. Just, you look... It's a 10-foot car. It looked great 10 foot away, but when you look closely at it, oh, it's dreadful in places. Right. Yeah, Andrew, take care, sir. You take care, sir. Look after yourself. Yeah, Mr. Ben, thank you very much, sir. You take care. And Tedesca, thank you for joining us. Lovely to have your input. I really appreciate it. Lovely. Honestly, meeting so many lovely people on these live streams. Honestly, it really makes it go really nicely, and plenty to talk about, and it keeps the conversation rolling. Right, take care, guys. Have a good evening, and I've got to find out how to do this again. Keep forgetting. Goodbye, all.